Hello, everyone, my fellow followers. Welcome back to FanZcene, and this is the Physical Media Show. Tonight we have Tom, as always, and Runner is running late, as always.
He
it's
is.
becoming a thing now.
It's his thing.
It's this thing. He claims to be a fast runner, but he's never on time. So
He says he's working.
says he's
Oh.
working.
You think maybe he found a boyfriend?
Maybe I mean he seemed to, he said he's seen Flashdance twice and never jerked off. So maybe he's finally watching Flashdance for a third time and getting getting it there. Who knows?
Poor runner.
Poor runner.
Yeah. He should be here later.
Yeah, he'll be here soon. But until then, let's say hi to everybody that's been hanging out in the chats waiting on us. Davina Duckworth, glad to see you here from 4K for you. Welcome. And Cosmic Squirrel, my buddy, welcome. Greetings, channel member here. And also, look at this, Rusty Shackelford, brand new channel member. Thank you. Thank you, Rusty, for joining the fellow followers. I'm looking for like a community name now for my growing community here. I know I call people fellow followers, but I was thinking about trying to name the community of fellow followers. I don't know. It sounds weird considering. Anyways. Random Brad, welcome. He sends good vibes as always. Joey, welcome here too. He says Polar Bear, Richard Harris, The Last Dinosaur. Or Polar Boar. I don't know if I get that. But thank you, Joey. And Deleted Scenes, as always, my great mod and channel member here as well. Thank you for being here. Anthony Draven, welcome. Hell to you. Yes, Runner is always running late. Cool Gamer, there's the Windows logo again. Welcome. Glad to have you here with us as always, too. And Stephen Luther, what's up, my friend? Inverse Opinion, glad to see you, too. Dan Blackroyd, it's always good to see you in the chat, too. It's not upstairs down to the basement. He's got to be quiet so his mom doesn't hear him. Rusty Shackelford, I said you, but yes, welcome. And thank you guys all for being here. I'm glad you're here. Hope you guys are in for some physical media tonight. Tom has watched a lot of movies this week, and this is a rare instance where, Tom, you've had a chance to watch a lot of movies, haven't you?
Well, yeah, Andre's been dealing with some stuff, so he hasn't exactly been sending me a lot of work this last week, which is bad for the channel, but good for my time. And yeah, I happen to have caught like twice the movies I normally get to, so bear with me, folks. I have like 8 titles tonight. And none of them are like sets or anything like that, so you're not even going to get lucky there.
Well, I have one set tonight, but I didn't get to watch all the movies in the set.
But so, like, I mean, set. Yeah, this whole like me getting to watch 8 movies, sometimes I get to, depending on if like I get to watch, but usually I have like a set of films, like a 1, 2, and 3, and I can talk about them like one. Not tonight, kids. Not tonight, kids. Yeah. But I think I got some interesting picks here.
That's good. I think for the most part, my picks, you'll know one right off the bat because it's something we really all love. And the second one, you'll know. But then after that, I don't think you'll really know.
Well, and the other thing with a couple of mine is they're ones we've talked about recently or not too long ago, to where I'll probably just give my feelings on the transfer, not so much get into the movie itself. But we'll see how it rolls. Like, I'm not going to try and waste everybody's night and keep us here till 4 hours and be like 2 o'clock in the movie. And finally, my last movie.
That starred that guy from that thing. What's his name?
I don't know.
Good evening, Tyrell72. Welcome here as well. Yeah, but as far as new releases, I did do a video covering most of the Shout releases, so check that out for those. Some of the ones I didn't bring up in that was the Jackie Chan Volume 2 Blu-ray collection, Endangered Species, Bless the Child with Kim Basinger, and something Juliet. I can't remember the name. It was Juliet. It's a 4K from Scream Factory. Then Keanu, or I was about to say Keanu Lorber. What was it? Vinegar Syndrome announced their titles. 3 titles I've never heard of before in my life, and they didn't sound particularly interesting to me. But for you guys, because I know not everybody here watches the 4K for You show, so those titles for if I can get this brought up, uh, the Vinegar Syndrome's February titles are Bio Zombie, The Devonsville Terror, and Goodbye 20th Century. I've never heard of them, and so yeah, that's essentially it. There wasn't really a whole lot as far as news goes. We did get a little tease that I'm sorry for anybody who maybe not caught this earlier, but Mill Creek partnering up with Disney to bring about Hollywood Pictures, Touchstone's Pictures, a back catalog. It's all old titles. It's titles they've already released. Bill Hunt confirmed it from the digital bits. He said it's just backlog. But like me and Tom talked about earlier, the good thing about that is maybe we'll get to Ernest movies. At least Ernest Scared Stupid, Ernest Goes to Jail, and Ernest Goes to Camp. That would be great. I would love to get Ernest Scared Stupid on Blu-ray. I have the DVD, but
because basically there's a batch of titles that Kino did right after Mill Creek did them, and there was a few that I think Kino did that Mill Creek didn't. So I'm assuming it'll just be kind of the same thing, them just swapping again. So a lot of those older Mill Creek titles that didn't cross over, like the Ernest movies and stuff like that, yeah, it'd be interesting to see. There was a couple in there. But like, again, I'm sure we'll get our third release of Spaced Invaders and our third release of Baby, Secret of the Lost Legend.
yeah,
It's our third release of Straight Talk with Dolly Parton,
yeah.
Our third or fourth release of Big Business and all that business.
Yeah, I would assume some of the ones that's already been released and they announced
Over and
some of them
over again,
before. Yeah. But I do hope they do get
there might be some gems in there, but again, it's not going to be anything we haven't already gotten.
Who released What About Bob with Bill Murray?
That has never gotten a release, a proper one. It hasn't been released since DVD, and then I think it was just a rip from the Laserdisc. I don't even think it's 16:9. Which I'm surprised. That was a very popular video back in the day. I'm surprised it didn't seem to carry over into. I don't know why they've never done anything with it. That would be one you'd think Shout Select would do or something, but yeah.
Yeah, you would think that would definitely need one because I've been thinking about that, and I think I was thinking there's no Blu-ray. I can't find a Blu-ray. That's why
there was a few when they started doing those Hollywood and Touchstone pictures that I thought maybe were kind of on the level. Like, thought maybe we'd get a couple of the Pauly Shore ones, but we didn't. Like Encino Man and Son-in-Law and In the Army Now.
Those would be nice.
There's a few others that I'm just like, why? Why didn't we get those? I mean, they're not like huge hits, but they're like well known enough. Like what? That's weird. Because even Encino Man has never had a decent release outside of a crappy DVD.
Yeah.
And not even in the Disney Club. Like it's like weird. Like there's
yeah. And I was gonna say even like the
Son-in-Law has never even got a
and...
Blu-ray yet. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I was gonna say the Son-in-Law Blu-ray DVD isn't even that great as well.
Oh no, it's an older DVD. Yeah.
But yeah, I would hopefully one day. Yes. What about Bob is awesome. That is something that needs a Blu-ray release. Maybe one day. I don't know. Disney is a weird hoarding physical media entity.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And then it's weird because they've released Holy Man a couple times, but we've never got Metro on Blu-ray.
I'd rather have Metro than
or
Holy
Distinguished Man or Distinguished Gentleman. Like Distinguished
Yes.
Gentleman, like that's the best of the Disney Eddie Murphy movies. Like,
I
give
would
us that
love
one.
that one.
Like,
I
what
would
the
love
fuck?
it. Vote who do we usually vote for? George Jefferson? Yeah, just vote for him.
Just vote for him.
I love it.
It's one of the last good Eddie Murphy comedies for a while.
I know. I could literally see that working in today's political society if some guy just using his name, which sounds like the previous senator who passed away, and just putting it on the ballot, people voting for him.
Yeah, it's pretty typical.
Yeah.
But
So it's a funny movie. Yeah.
People Under the Stairs. I don't know if you mentioned that.
Oh yes, People Under the Stairs
just got mentioned.
I'm very interested in that one because it's been
Italian Job also just got
Italian Job.
Or actually, I think that one had a date. So yeah.
Yeah.
The remake, not the original. The original just got released by Kino not too long ago.
Yeah. Hopefully Paramount don't screw that one up because, like I said, I just don't have high hopes for Paramount titles anymore. It's just like lose interest in them now.
It's The Score, which is around the same time.
Mm-hmm.
and it's crushed to hell and soft looking. I mean, I don't even think they went back and rescanned it. Um,
Yeah,
I don't know. I have to look at it again. I don't think it said it was from the negative.
it's typical Paramount, man. It's just they've become horrible.
Let's check in with Mill Creek. We haven't checked in with our buddies in a
Oh
while.
yes, have we looked at their website in a while?
Oh, this ain't the right one. What the hell is this?
And for those of you who are new here who do not know, in the very very early days of this show, I can't remember what episode. It could have been like two or
Looks
three or
like
four.
it did when they changed it still.
Yeah. Oh, did it?
It's
Uh,
the same as it was when after they changed it, yeah.
okay, let's see. But yes, for
Yeah.
anybody who doesn't know, who's new here, who's started watching later, in the very early days of this show, like like I said, I can't remember what episode, like 2, 3, 4 episode. We looked up Mill Creek's website, and it looked horrible. It was a building with a fake Mill Creek logo, badly photoshopped onto the side
Yes.
outside. It was horrible. We ripped into it, and then like a week later, we checked it, and it was this. So
Let me see if I
I,
can find it here.
I'm not saying it was us, but I'm saying it was us. We caused them to change their website.
I'm not saying it was us, but it was likely us.
Yeah, it was likely us.
That's funny.
But that was fun.
Okay. See, when did they change it? When did we start?
Yeah, I don't remember how far back it was. It was in the very, very beginning.
Because I got it
Before
up
we
on the
really.
way back machine, but
Oh, do
I got to
you?
see how far way back I got to go here.
Oh, really? The new night. I did not have high hopes for the new Night Court, Doug. I did not. I love the original, but the new one just looks awful. It really doesn't look funny. And if the red letter media looks sad watching it, yeah, I'm good.
It's slow. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah, moving. But if you ever have time and you want to go check out, I'm not sure what episode it is, and I'll admit some of those early shows are pretty rough because it took us a minute to find our footing of what we wanted to do. But we ripped into Mill Creek pretty bad. They had to change their website.
Yeah, I was probably like second or third time I was probably on in that region.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, because you weren't on the first one. It was just me and Runner. We didn't do it then. So yeah, it was like second or third. That's why I said maybe third or fourth episode. I don't
Something
know.
like that.
Yeah. I know people have gone back and rewatched the whole playlist before. So if anybody remembers from rewatching it, let us know. But yeah, that's about it for all the new and upcoming releases and the Mill Creek stuff. So we'll see.
Indeed.
Indeed. Yes, the old Quantum Leap is on Blu-ray. I was wanting to get that, but I just got
I got it, but I haven't watched it yet.
I got the Miami Vice on DVD because I figured it's Mill Creek. Is it really going to be that big of a difference? So
Yeah, actually, they pretty much put out whatever they get from the. I mean, those like most of their TV ones, they look pretty good.
not really.
I haven't heard anything about Miami Vice one way or the other, but like what I like previewed some of Quantum Leap and that looked pretty decent. I've got like I Dream of Jeannie, but like the first few seasons I guess look really good, but people said that some of the latter seasons they really compressed onto the discs, so they suffer a bit. But I got like that 70s show and it looks pretty good.
Well, that's
So
cool.
that seems like it's pretty well spread out over the discs, decent enough.
I was going to buy the Blu-ray Miami Vice, but I figured I just do DVDs, Mill Creek. So, but maybe I'll regret it probably now.
You never know. I've thought about picking them up at some point.
Yeah.
Tyrell says it looks solid.
That's cool. Solid. Yeah, and so does Davina. All right.
Yeah, they're another one that's kind of at the mercy of the stuff they get at the studio, but they also do like to compress shit when they do like the double discs and shit, or like do 2 movies on 1 disc and shit like that. That's where I'll give them shit. They're like the good times in that sense. Like they'll try and cram a bunch of movies on a disc and shit.
This is true. This is true. Because I do actually have Ernest Goes to Camp on also with Camp Nowhere on
They're
one
on
disc.
the same disc.
On the same disc, yeah. So that was the only Ernest one I could find at the time, and I bought it because I missed the other
Luckily, I
ones.
got the separate ones, but yeah.
Yeah, so that's why I'm hoping they do release the Ernest ones,
It would
and
be
it would be
nice, and
nice.
also add Christmas to it, yeah.
Yeah, that's about to say it'd be nice for the Christmas one. That
Is
was
that
still only on DVD.
I say, did I even get a DVD really? Like,
Yeah,
that's the thing. Disney did do a bunch of DVDs early on, but they were just a bunch of Laserdisc rips.
yeah,
So they were just not very good quality at all.
it's true. All right, but that is it. I hope we gave you guys some information on there. Tom, do you want to start off first since
I
it's
guess.
we
I
got a
mean, I've
lot?
got 8 fucking titles here. So let's start off with one we aren't going to talk about for very long.
All
In
right.
fact, just go check out the damn it. Just go check out the A-rated B movies we just talked about as far as how I feel about the movie. I think we've talked about this movie a couple times on here, but tomorrow's
Right.
Groundhog Day. So of course I had to watch Groundhog Day. This is the old release. This isn't the newer one. But it looks good. It's clearly from the negative, and I can imagine the Dolby Vision version looks a step up from this one, but this one also has the Dolby Atmos and all that kind of stuff on it. No special features on the 4K. That's all on the other disc. The only thing that's really missing on here, I wish that wasn't, was it's like it'd be nice if they had some deleted scenes because I got to imagine there's a lot of deleted scenes for this movie, kind of like with planes, trains, and automobiles and such.
Yeah, I would. There's got to be, considering how many thousands of years it's supposed to be and all that. So
Well,
you
not
would
just
think.
that. Like when we were talking about it on 4K or on the A-rated B movies, like the Michael Shannon character, for instance, that feels like a payoff for something else we never seen the setup for.
It's
And
true.
there's a few other bits and pieces in there that feel like that. So it feels like there's other like side stories that were kind of cut out. If you watch the trailer, like a lot of the takes in the trailer are from alternate takes.
Oh
And
yeah,
like
that's true.
Bill Murray's a little more sardonic or darker in some of those takes and stuff like that. So I'm curious to see what other kind of versions they did. But yeah, we really do a deep dive into it there. So there's not much I can say about it that hasn't been said already. But you know, happy Groundhog's Day tomorrow. So there you
Yes, happy ground. Will it see its shadow? Do you think so?
I don't know. This day will
Um,
never end as long as that rodent keeps seeing his shadow. He must be stopped.
comes out, it crinkles up his nose like this.
Wish you had a mirror right now so you could just see how your face when you do that nose thing. Like that.
It's such a good
They
movie.
used to pull the rat out and they used to eat it. These people are a bunch of hypocrites.
Hey Nancy,
Here
don't
we
go for
are.
it.
Or my former fiance.
Yeah,
Here
for
we are
fiance.
once again in the humble village of Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania. Blah 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 blah. This winter is never going to end as long as this groundhog keeps seeing his shadow. He must be stopped.
When he takes him out driving, he just lets him drive. That is hilarious.
Don't drive angry.
Oh, this is crazy. Is it Phil? Or yeah, what's he say? Ned Ryerson, and he gives a big hug. Let's just go somewhere. And I love that
You're
scene.
taking the weather from the wrong Phil.
uh, it's a good movie.
Yes, it's an enjoyable film. But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I have that one, but I have the slipcover. So
dirty bastard. I've thought about getting the steelbook, but I'm just like, is it
me
really
too.
worth upgrading just for a steelbook and Dolby Vision?
Yeah,
I mean, it's not like it's Blade Runner, you know.
exactly.
You know, we're like, oh, maybe the Dolby Vision will make a little bit of a difference. It's a comedy shot, mostly bright. I don't think it's gonna make a difference.
No, I don't think it will. I mean,
Unless I seen it for like $10, maybe. But I think I only paid like 13 for this one when I got it. I got it pretty cheap, so yeah.
yeah. Well, yeah, I got it at Best Buy. That's when it was a Best Buy exclusive, I think. Um, yeah, it was pretty cheap. It was like $12, I think.
Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't pay that
Yeah,
much for it when I
$12.
got it.
Yeah, but I'm happy with the one I got. Like you said, I don't think I need the
Yeah,
steelbook. So
they didn't add anything. So
yeah,
outside, like I said, Dolby Vision is the only thing they added. So
yeah. Um. All right. Well, I guess we'll move on to my first pick of the night. Let's see. This is I recently got. I wish I would have brought over here before I went into this. I recently got the Last Ronin, and so it made me want to go back and rewatch the Ninja Turtles. And I hadn't seen the first
Nice.
one in a long time. So, and man, that movie still holds up. I don't care what anybody says. That movie still holds up. It's a great flick.
Well,
I
depending on
never
which
made
day
it
you
to
ask me, it's my favorite movie.
yeah. I never made it to these two actually. I only watched the first one. I was planning on watching these two. But yeah, this is my nice little Blu-ray and I get the little slipcover for it.
It's
So
actually the same set I got. I actually never did get the big expensive pizza box one. There's
neither
nothing
did
really
I.
different. They're the same discs. If you notice, if you open up the one you got, they're all pizza
Yeah,
slices.
there's
That's
a
why. It's
yeah.
the same disc. The only difference between that and the box is the box that it's in, and it had like some swag with it that wasn't even that much to really write home
Yeah.
about. It was like a couple of bandanas. It was like dumb
You
shit.
cut the eyes out, it looked the same.
Yeah, it was really just kind of dumb. But no, the original film, yeah, I agree, holds up very, 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 very well. It needs a new remaster. Rumor is there is a 4K master of it, but being that this is Warner's anniversary, I have a feeling we might get to see at least the first film in 4K this year.
I would
Um,
absolutely love that.
yeah, and I don't hate the second film. The third film, I don't hate either, but yeah, I get why people dislike it.
Yeah. I don't hate the
Uh,
second one. The second one is just like goofy, good, goofy fun. But that first one,
yeah,
it's like this legit serious. It's like you've talked before, and like we said, it's a great blend of the comic books and of the '90s cartoon. But like you said, some of that is like straight out of the comic books in that first movie. It is
yeah,
just such. It is a solid film. I will hold it against The Dark Knight. I will hold it against Superman.
I agree.
A great movie. I love that movie. And Casey freaking Jones is awesome in that movie. Raphael and his barring back and forth, and then Donatello and him when they're going through the alphabet, calling each other names, working on the truck. I love that scene. That's great. And just I go back thinking about this. So many new modern superhero movies have ripped off the Ninja Turtles. They were the first superhero team to go to a farmhouse to hide out from the big bad. So
That's straight out the comics too.
yeah, straight out the comics. So they like straight off ripped off the Ninja Turtles and like
The only difference between the
all them.
comic and the movie, it's Leonardo that gets hurt in the comics, not Raph.
Oh yeah, yeah. So yeah, at least we get Casey back in the third one, but then he's not quite the same. But I mean, yeah, I don't hate the third one either. It was all right. I mean, it has its moments.
The only thing I hate about the third one, other than obviously they didn't have nearly the same budget, they don't, the Kyoto brothers came in and did the effects, but rumor is they weren't too hands on with the effects because they were busy doing some other things. So that's another reason why they probably suffered. The only
Yeah,
thing other than the effects that I don't like is some of the modern isms, right? Like
right.
shwing and that kind of stupid
Oh
shit.
yeah, when they had the '90s lingo.
Yeah, because I mean, yeah, it's one thing for them to say "cowabunga, dude" and shit like that, but there was some too many modern jokes
Right.
in the third film. Like you can get away with the Rocky joke and the "you dirty rat" joke and stuff like that. Stuff that's already kind of been embedded into the you
Pop
know
culture
pop
zeitgeist.
culture zeitgeist. Like who the fuck really remembers Schwing outside of Wayne's World fans at this point?
It's true. That's true.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
maybe the Adams Family joke still stands up, but it wasn't a really funny joke to fucking begin with. You know, like, and I think the only reason that joke was made is because the movie was coming out pretty close to the Adams Family sequel or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's just like, there's just little shit like that, like Legorama and all that stupid shit. Like, just,
I would put it into the vein of like it's sort of like the Three Ninjas, which I love the Three Ninjas, but it's sort of like trying. It feels like that's what it was trying to capture, which is weird considering the Ninja Turtles and Karate Kid probably spawned the Three Ninjas and stuff. Like Three Ninjas or Surf Ninjas. It all sort of like that and Ninja Turtles 3 always sort of like blend together to me. You know what I mean? It's very distinctly 90s. But yeah, I get what you're saying. Um, But I love
I
it,
mean,
and
don't get
I
me wrong, Vanilla Ice being in the second film does not help age that
yeah.
film, but it's part of the charm now, right? Like
Right.
you say "Go Ninja Go," people remember that shit.
Exactly. You start saying that, it's like, oh shit, Ninja Turtles, go
Exactly.
Ninja, go.
What's sad is I think I seen the second film in the theater more times than I saw the first one.
I can still remember. That's true. I can still remember. Like, you want to talk about big movie going experiences that I can remember in my life, and the first Ninja Turtles is one of the first big movie theater experiences I can remember, because when we went to the theaters, it was lined up all the way out into the parking lot, and we had to stand out in the parking lot and wait in line to get into the theater. We were there forever. It was like jam packed. It was
I
like
don't
the
think they expected it, right?
yeah,
Like,
I don't think they expected that at all.
I mean, here's the thing you got to remember for those listening that may not be aware. Like, at that point, the Ninja Turtles had already been out for like 2.5 years. They came out in the toys late '87, early '88, something like that. Same thing with the like 5-part mini series they did which is technically now the first season of the animated series. And at that point, they kind of figured there's a 3-year lifespan to these things. We'd had a couple of series, a couple episodes of the seasons of the series. They just kind of figured Ninja Turtles is probably on the downward trend. No studio in Hollywood wanted to fucking touch it because of Masters of the Universe. And it came to New Line, and great story. Go listen to our Robert Shea interview because he talks about how Ninja Turtles came to New Line. But yeah, so for a while there until Blair Witch Project, funnily enough, Steven, Ninja Turtles was the highest grossing independent film. It was made for like somewhere between 12 and 15 million and grossed over 150 million domestically, I believe it was. And yeah, it was a huge movie that summer. Not even summer, it was spring. It came out basically, it was even just before Easter because it came out March 30th, 1990. And I remember I saw it opening day because my dad was supposed to take us, me and my brother. So he took us to Burger King. And funnily enough, that week, Burger King started doing, the Kids Club was not giving away, but you could get a video, a Ninja Turtle video for like $3 or $4 or whatever it was. Maybe even $1. They might have been cheaper. I don't know. They were only a 30-minute episode a piece, but what they were is basically episodes from the upcoming season that hadn't been released yet.
Right.
So there's like 4 tapes. And at the end of each tape, they had the trailer for Ninja Turtles, which was also cool. The theatrical trailer. But anyway, so the same day I got like all 4 of the tapes and a kid's meal, which also had a Ninja Turtle thing in it. It wasn't related to the movie, but it was just a flat out Ninja Turtle thing. But it didn't matter. To me, it was just like whatever. I think they did have cups that were associated with the movie, but I can't remember.
I think they did have cuts because I think I had one of them.
Yeah, because Burger King was the Ninja Turtle headquarters, regardless. Yes. And I do remember they had the big stand there too, with all of them on it and shit like that. That was kind of advertising the movie. It was really cool. And then, like you said, when we got to the theater, I wasn't expecting it to be this huge thing, but it was fucking jam packed. But the funny thing was, my dad didn't end up taking us. He went and got drunk in the afternoon, so my mom had to take and she wasn't looking forward to it so much, but she ended up liking the film quite a bit, which speaks to how good the movie was on so many different levels. I mean, she did comment on how she wasn't too happy with how dark it was and didn't kind of like some of the violence, but at that point, Batman and some other things had just come out. Batman was worse. So, like, really, yeah. I mean, she didn't seem to be that worried about it all that much. She seemed to enjoy the film quite a bit more than I think she had figured she was going to. Right. So, because I ended up seeing it again because I was actually I saw that opening day at a big theater in La Crosse, Wisconsin, and then when it finally came to our because we actually moved back to my old hometown soon after that because we lived up there, and they didn't get it into the local theater until like June, July, somewhere in there, maybe May. I can't exactly remember when because it was like 3-4 months usually after a movie come out. They'd get to the little local theater get it. So I went to see it at least once or twice the weekend, the first weekend they had it, and then they held it over for a second weekend. So I know I got to see it again. So I saw the first movie 4 times in the theater. Nice. The second movie I went to see, I'm trying to remember the first time I saw it. I can't remember now. Because I swear I had to have seen it on opening night, but I don't remember how I would have been able to pull that off at that age. So I might have had to wait till it came a little closer.
Yeah, I
But I
think.
remember seeing it in 2 different theaters, and I saw it on my birthday, plus I saw it, like, every night it showed at the other local theater I had, and it showed for 2 weekends, so that means I saw it at least 7 or 8 times in the theater. Now that I'm doing my counting. So, 3 nights it would have showed. Maybe I didn't see it on Sunday night, but I'd have to go back and remember. But anyhow, sorry.
Yeah, no, I get it because that's like I said, that is like my first big movie theater I can experience. That first movie, it was huge. I did not expect it to be that way. The second one wasn't. I didn't have that weight. Like he said, I don't know if I saw it opening week. The second one, I can't remember if I did or didn't, but I know I saw it in the theaters. I had fun with the second one, but yeah, that was the first one was huge, and on the rewatch because, like I said, I had not watched it in years, and I was watching, and I just
Yeah.
was like. I was taking me back, man. I love it. I really cannot wait if we do get a 4K. And I did discover for horror fans out there, you probably knew this already. Skeet Ulrich is in the first Ninja Turtles movie.
Yeah, he's really, not a very big part,
No,
but
he's
yeah.
not. He's like you blink and you miss him because he's standing
Yeah.
behind Sam
Rockwell,
Rockwell. Yeah, who's
who
went
also has
on.
a small bit part, yeah.
Yeah, who has been who become, but he's like right behind him, and just real quick, and he's blurry, but it's him. And so Scott Wolf, but I never saw Scott Wolf.
Yeah, I
So
think I might have an idea who Scott Wolf was, but I was never 100% sure. But yeah, no, there's a lot of supposedly semi-famous later, young actors who just, played background
yeah,
kids and
just
shit like that
hanging in the background at the.
as
Uh,
extras or whatever.
that was actually a pretty freaking cool place. Those kids were hanging out. If they didn't have to become foot ninjas and steal stuff, that
Yeah.
was a pretty cool place.
Believe it or not, Ninja Turtles was the third movie I ever saw in surround sound in the theater.
Oh, nice.
Because the first movie I ever saw in surround sound was Land Before Time. Because our local theater, the one we did have, just had mono sound. But yeah, I ended up seeing Land Before Time, and that was the first time I ever noticed stereo sound. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here?
What's behind me?
Like, yeah, there's like, because the roars and shit were starting to come from like the left and right, and you started hearing like, things going all over. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? Because I was a little kid, I didn't know what the hell was going on. I was like 8 or 9 years old. It was on a re-release actually of Land Before Time, believe it or not, because it was like 88, I think it was. Or when did that movie come out? Was it 88?
The Land Before Time.
Yeah, I thought
I
that came
know
out
it
in 86.
traumatized
Maybe
the
it was
shit out of me
88.
as a kid.
Maybe I did see it in its first run, but it happened to be, I was at my cousin's, and it was
1988. Yeah.
okay, maybe it was that Christmas, because I know I was at least old enough. I was pissed because I wanted to see Roger Rabbit, and they wouldn't let us go see Roger Rabbit because Land Before Time was showing as the free movie. It's like, I don't want to fucking go see Land Before Time. I want to go see Roger Rabbit. And the reason it was a free movie, you just bring a canned good, you got in for free.
Oh yeah,
So that's what they did. They dumped all us kids off. There was like 6 or 7 of us. Dumped all us kids off with fucking cans of Spam at the goddamn theater. And again, it was really cool because, like I said, I'd never even experienced that before. And then the second time would have been Ghostbusters 2, because I actually saw that in La Crosse.
Mm-hmm.
Then the third one would have been Ninja Turtles. So yeah, it was kind of cool.
Yeah. It's a good movie.
I still didn't quite understand what surround. Like, I just thought there was just speakers everywhere. I didn't really notice.
Yeah, you didn't notice.
I was still kind of getting to learn that kind of stuff. It wasn't until about 94, 95 when I started learning.
Honestly, it still
that,
gets me
yeah.
Sometimes. You be sitting there and you're watching it and you like hear water and you go, "Where the hell's that water coming from?" And
Actually,
it's the surround sound.
Actually, that's not true. It was right around the same time because, yeah, about 93, 92. Because we got a new multiplex, and Son-in-Law was one of the first movies I seen there.
Oh, no.
My dad and mom went to it with us, and my dad kept commenting the whole way home about the sound because he had never seen a movie in surround sound.
Oh,
and
really?
he was like, or maybe he had seen Dances with Wolves in surround sound. I can't remember. But he just kept commenting, though, on how the sound was so cool compared to the other theater, because the one scene where they're at the graduation speech, for instance, like you had the echo just kind of, it went and just bellowed through you had the delay. So it actually sounded like,
Yeah, it sounds like she's actually giving that speech.
Talking into the microphone and all that kind of stuff. So it was just tripping my dad out for some reason. But yeah, it was just like, I don't know. It's like, Dad, you'd seen movies before. I don't know. Because he's seen Dances with Wolves. I never saw it, but he did in a bigger theater. So he had to have seen that in surround sound. And we went on a long fucking, way off the beaten path here. Ninja Turtles, great fucking.
Great movie, exactly. And my favorite Ninja Turtle is Michelangelo. He's always been my favorite.
Raph was growing up my favorite along with Mike, and I've never been able to pick one over the other because they're so much both like my personalities.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like
No,
yeah.
I love Raphael. He's awesome character. But I've always liked Leonardo and Michelangelo. That's sort of like my personalities. So yeah,
Yeah, I
um,
can see that.
yeah. But those Michelangelo's always been my favorite. And yes, I have Raphael. It's like they're all pretty awesome. So it's really hard. But I always like love Mikey's jokes and his attitude. And then Leonardo, I love that he was like trying to be this leader with these guys, and he was, sometimes he would fall into like their goofiness with them, but then he'd also bring it back to trying to be serious. And then the arguments him and Raphael have, I love it. It's like my brothers. That's what, because there's 4 Ninja Turtles. There's four of them. I'm the second oldest. I have an older brother and 2 younger brothers. There's 4 of us, and it hit all 4 of us at the right time. The Ninja Turtle craze. So we all were like making masks and hitting each other and pretending to be Ninja Turtles. So it all worked. But yeah, so there it is. Check out Ninja Turtles. Rusty, you should totally rewatch it. And it's back to you, Tom. What do you got for us?
I got a ton of them.
All
right.
Well, you can do
Here's
2 in a row if you want.
I was thinking that maybe. Here's a Sylvester Stallone one that I never had seen before, believe it or not.
Oh.
At least I don't think I have. If I have, I forgot. But Shout Factory recently put out Nighthawks. And basically the storyline is Rutger Hauer plays this terrorist who blows up some shit in England. Then he comes to New York to blow some shit up. And Sylvester Stallone's he's a New York cop who's put on this task force. It's a decent film, but it's a pretty paint by numbers kind of
thriller type
late
movie.
70s, early 80s action thriller. Exactly. Nothing to really write home about, but not a bad movie in any way. He made this, I think, right after Rocky 2, because it was 81. So this is just before Rambo and right after Rocky 2, I think, is when this was made.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, and the only reason I ever even heard of it, and I didn't even know it existed until I ended up getting the soundtrack in a lot of records. But I mean, like I bought like 10 records or whatever. It happened to be one of the records. So I was just like, oh, that's weird. I didn't know that there was a movie with Sylvester Stallone and Rutger Hauer. That's news to me. Might have to check that out. And like I said, Shout Factory, I think this is not even that old. They just released this not too long ago, I don't think it's that old.
Huh.
Maybe 2021, which would have been the anniversary for it. I don't know. They don't have a this year or a modern date on here. They just have the original date on it. Oh, it was a pretty decent movie.
Was it pretty decent? I think I've seen bits and pieces of it. One thing I do remember from being a kid and watching wrestling back in the day was the $1 Million Man is in that movie. He makes an appearance somewhere.
Speaking of, I totally forgot. Billy D. Williams is his partner in the movie too.
Oh, there you go, Billy D. That's actually a really great cast.
Yeah, it's a decent film, and the director is Bruce Malmuth. I know the name, but I can't place what else he's directed. But it seemed like a pretty decent film for the time.
Tyrell says they unfortunately cut out a lot of hardcore violence out of the end, which
this is true, and you notice, which is funny because spoilers, when Sly takes out Rutger Hauer at the end, he only shoots him like twice in the movie, but when they cut from the first shot to Rutger Hauer, he has like 5 or 6 bullet holes in his fucking chest.
So that makes sense.
Wait a minute. What happened? Shot him twice. What the fuck? That's exactly what I said too, like out loud. Like, wait a minute, what the fuck?
He only pulled that trigger 2 times.
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck? Or maybe it was only once, but it was like, no fucking way. He's got like fucking, like you could tell, like he's just chucked full of blood and fucking 5, 6 holes, or like Tyrell said, you could totally tell. You're like, wait a minute here. It's like they cut it that way on purpose just so the audience would notice.
Well, now that'd be interesting. Did they have any deleted scenes on that?
Sadly, no. Like a lot of Shout Selects, the only thing that's new is an interview with the producer and writer. and a couple of the actors, but nothing to really write home about from my memory of it. I watched it, but nothing's sticking out to me.
Now that
So
would
yeah,
see
they
that
don't
would
even
be
mention that. They didn't even mention that about Sly. I didn't know that.
oh yeah. Now see that would be interesting if they managed to find deleted scenes, show people once in a while of what it would have been like.
Oh
That'd
yeah, and
be
it also
nice.
has the chick from Star Trek in it. The first one, the movie, who
Oh, the
played the
first
bald
oh the
chick.
ball chick. Um
I know her name and I can't think of it. She
It's like
played.
she's foreign, ain't she? She's like German
Yeah,
or
yeah, but
something.
she has hair and shit. It took me a minute to figure out who the fuck she was too. I'm like, I know her. Oh, it's what's her face from Star Trek. I can't. I
Oh yeah.
recognize her without her hair.
I'm trying
She's
to
done
think.
that to me a few times in movies.
I'm trying to look up her name here. They never give you a like. Yeah, I know the
Princess
whole cast.
Kambata. Yes.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I've yeah, I don't. It's when you see her with hair, it is hard to recognize her at first. So it's very hard.
Yeah, I've noticed her in like 3 or 4 other things, and it always takes me a bit because I'm like, who the fuck is she? I know her. You know, like,
uh,
no, I can recommend it, but I mean, I think they
I'd
want
watch
7.
it.
I think it's a little pricey for the movie though. It'd be better. It feels like more like it'd be a Kino release, which is weird.
That's you know you're not wrong there. Now thinking about it, yeah. Because like I
Because
said, I
it's
don't. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, I was just gonna say because it's not one of his more well-known movies. Was all.
Yeah. So like I said, I think I've seen bits and pieces of it, and the one thing I do remember is the Million Dollar Man Ted DiBiase makes an appearance in the movie, but it was before he was a wrestler, so that's all I remember about it really. But I'm interested in seeing now. I might have to pick that up eventually. Maybe the price will drop on a shout sale or
Yeah, I was
something.
gonna
I
say
can get
wait
it.
for a sale.
Yeah.
Let's put it this way: this movie is so not popular that when I type in Nighthawks, it doesn't even come up to like the fifth or sixth thing. Fucking IMDb. But it's got a 6.3 rating on IMDb, which ain't too bad.
No, that ain't bad.
But yeah, no, it was all right.
That's good. I mean, it's one Stallone movie that if you're a hardcore fan, I guess you want to complete your list of seeing. Some I would watch though. So yeah,
I'm not sure why they would cut it down. It's still rated R. I
yeah,
mean,
that it'd be kind of interesting to know considering how that it made Stallone mad and they cut out a lot of the violence. So I wonder what exactly happened. So it'd be
yeah,
interesting to find out.
that makes no
Um,
sense.
it doesn't. Do you want to do another one, or you want me to go into my next
Yeah,
one?
I can actually if you want me to. It's up to you.
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
was
Do
just trying
another
to
one.
find out what it did at the box office, but I can't
Oh,
find it.
okay.
Whatever. No, no, that's fine. Okay. I'm gonna do this one next since it's kind of we got
I loved your shirt for a minute there. I thought that was Garth Brooks, and I had to do a
oh
double take, and it was.
I'm your Huckleberry. Um since I just did a Stallone one, let's do an Eastwood one.
Now this I have seen.
Escape
I love this movie.
from Alcatraz with Clint Eastwood. This is a Paramount slash Kino release. Paramount did the scan and the fudging of the scan.
Of course, of course.
This one's bad as far as this fudging goes. There's like some of the scenes where it's raining. You can't tell it's raining.
Oh
If it
boy.
wasn't for sound, it looks like smoke. That's how they smudged it so bad. I mean, it's not horrid, but it's Paramount. Leave shit.
Would you please just scan it normally and stop DNRing and crap?
And it's a weird DNR because it's not like the normal DNR, but it makes everything much softer. And like I said, that's the worst of it I've seen so far is when we're watching a scene when you know you should clearly be seeing rain and it looks like a mist because whatever they did to it is crushing the picture or whatever you want to call it. And in that respect, it looks bad. But outside of that, it's not too bad. I mean, if you don't own it already, it's the right price on 4K Blu-ray. It has a commentary with film historians, interview with the screenwriter, interview with Larry Hankin, the actor. It's pretty interesting to hear because the guy who wrote the story ended up finding the book on one of his many trips to Alcatraz, and he realized it was an old book. And the author, funnily enough, he called the publisher to get the rights, and he bugged the publisher so much that they said, "Yeah, we don't have the rights to it anymore." He's like, "What do you mean?" Because he was trying to negotiate to get the rights. You're like, "Yeah, we didn't want to deal with it, so we just gave it back to the author. Go deal with him."
You could do
Which
it.
is funny because he first contacted the author.
Oh,
And the
really?
author's like, "Yeah, you're gonna have to get a hold of the publisher," kind of thing. He's like, "But yeah, it's fine by me if you want to do it." You know, so he's like, "Okay, good. I already have a rapport with him. Great." So he went back, got a decent deal made, and for years he, nursed the script along until one day, out of the blue, I can't remember who he said it was through, but like a friend of a friend got it to Clint Eastwood because they happened to be like Clint Eastwood's hair person or something like that. And he's like, "This never happens in Hollywood, right?" Like, he's like, all of a
Right.
sudden, he's like, "First of all, I get the rights to this novel for next to nothing, and because the author ends up getting the rights from the publisher because the publisher just didn't even want to fucking deal with it." Like, that never happens.
Yeah,
He goes, and
like the story of this movie.
yeah, he's like, and that's kind of what he was paralleling, is just how impossible the story of the movie was, but yet, because it is based on a true fucking story. It's a true,
Exactly.
and there is a follow up to it where like one of the guys who escaped actually wrote a letter to at least somebody who claimed to be that person, but I think they gave some information that proved that it was them, I guess. But at
Yeah.
least one of the guys got away anyway.
Yeah, that's what Brian Barth actually was asking. Do you think the prisoners actually escaped? Now, see, my dad watches this history stuff. He's watched a thing on that where it does say that at least two of them actually may have
Was
made
there
it
another
down.
one that maybe that got out? Yeah, I don't.
They said at least two of them. Where did they say they made it out to? They're not in America anymore. I can't remember what country they said they're in,
Yeah,
but they sent letters to the family, supposedly to their families, and their
right. Okay,
family
that's how they
approved it.
verified it. Yeah,
Yeah.
because they said that. Well, they didn't say in the letters they sent to the press anyway where they were, because the one specifically ended with, "Is you'll never know where I'm at, or you'll never find me," or whatever, like something like that.
I think that's where they're at, South America. I wanted to say Brazil, but I think it's in somewhere in South America. They are, yeah.
No, it's a really neat story, and of course, the author or the writer says, obviously, both the author and himself had to take some liberties because they can't ask the people what the fuck happened on their end. They just know the aftermath, and at the same time, he also pointed out that these guys are criminals, so you had to kind of handle them that way. But it was just there was, I guess, another thing that he said. The only thing that really changed, though, otherwise from his screenplay to the screen, was Eastwood is a man of few words, and him and a few other people just felt like they didn't need this extraneous stuff in the beginning. Get rid of that. As soon as he gets there, boom, he wants to get the fuck out.
Right.
Because I'd imagine there's like a
going.
big lead up to it, to like, he got beat up and this and that and the other, and all this shit kept going on. I mean, they have a little bit of that in the movie, but I'm sure it must have been more and more and more that they're like, "No, we can get through that. We just need to get the escape plan. That's all we need."
Yeah. It's true, but I really do love that movie. It's a really great movie, and I love the heads they make for the.
Yeah.
I love those paper mache head like things, and oh my god, what that actor! The one actor, I think he's in a couple other Clint Eastwood movies that it's with them that they escape with.
Which is funny because I'm thinking back on this, watching this the other night. I think this is the movie that Clint Eastwood probably has some of the most lines in, if you think about it. Because it is just a lot of talking. I mean, not like, boring, but you have to, like, they're planning this whole thing out.
Yeah. They're
so
in, like,
there's
the
a lot of
workroom and
dialogue,
everything.
the whole movie's dialogue until the escape, really.
Right.
So I'm like thinking that, I'm like, wow, thinking about this movie might have the most Clint Eastwood dialogue in it.
It's true.
No wonder he wanted to cut out the beginning.
Probably, it's true. And it does get like
lines.
Everybody just wants to see me glare and grit my teeth.
Everybody just talk.
I'm a man.
They'd rather do it.
I'm a man. I don't talk. But it does get real quiet when they break out. So
yeah.
It's like the whole, like, it's basically music with them, and they're quiet and they're going out and they're getting in the water, and then the guards are chasing them and stuff like that. Yeah.
No, it's a great flick.
No, yeah, it's a really great flick. I think I'll probably just stick with the Blu-ray, considering the 4K doesn't sound too impressive.
I don't know how old your Blu-ray is. Regardless, I mean, I hate saying that because
we love Kino.
Well, not even that. It's just that even though these are kind of smudgy looking, they still look better than the Blu-ray ever could. Right? It's the same kind of
Right.
thing with Wayne's World. It still looks better than the old DVD and Blu-ray ever could, but it could look better. That's the problem I have, right? Like, it's like, you could do better. I'm not seeing any natural grain here. I'm not seeing, the clarity that I should see, and it gets smudgy, and you can kind of just tell there's just giveaway signs of, I know they're fucking with it. And it's like, why? Just leave it alone. Let some of the grain come through. Just let it. I want to be able to see the structure of it. I want to be able to know that I'm getting all of the resolution I can out of this picture. I get it. You have to degrain some of it because it's just, that's just the way the
That's the way it
nature of the
works.
beast.
Yeah.
But once you get at that sweet spot, leave it the fuck alone. Warner Brothers has a problem with this too. I'll call them bastards out too a little bit. They have a problem. They do the same fucking thing. I noticed this on Christmas Vacation specifically.
Yeah.
Because it's usually only when they don't have a negative. I'll give them credit that usually when they're doing something from a negative, you can tell, and they don't usually process it too much. Because Christmas Story looked really good. But Christmas Vacation, you could tell, was from an older scan and maybe not from the negative. And even Films at Home was questioning that.
Yeah, you could tell.
So if he's questioning it, then yeah. So at that point, I'm like, and I'm watching it and I'm going, this looks like there was some major DNR. And I think I said that to you guys.
Yeah. And some color timing is off too.
The color timing is way off.
Way off.
Way different. It's much bluer now.
And
the older Blu-ray looked a little bit more natural. But again, resolution wise, you're getting a much better picture. But they're doing shit to these movies that are ruining them. And we're gonna get to that in one of my next movies here, along with another gripe that if you missed 4K for you earlier. So yeah. But yes, there's 2 movies off my chest.
There you go. That's nice, good movies. I like the movies, but the second one,
it's not the worst Paramount scan in the world, but if you're a big enough fan of the movie and you watch it a lot, I'd say it's probably worth it. Even because it's got special features and stuff, and I doubt the original disc does.
Yeah. But will Clint Eastwood make another movie? Maybe. I don't think he'll make another movie where he acts. I think that was The Mule, but you never know.
I don't think he'll quit until he's ready to quit, or he's dead. I think Clint Eastwood will die making a movie.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's true. I keep saying that, and he keeps saying like this is his last performance, and he's back again. So
that's what I mean. He'll end up dying making a movie. You watch.
Yeah. Today on the set of Dirty Harry number 75.
Speaking of, that was also Alcatraz is also the last movie he did with Don Siegel, I believe, too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because they did like 5 movies together, I think.
Yeah, and he was that's his stunt double, right? The stunt double that was director that you're talking about. Or are you talking about like the actor that was in the movie?
No, Don Siegel was the director, but I don't know if he was he his stuntman too at one time?
No, the one I think
Don Siegel, I think, was the one who also did was it the Dirty Harry movies, I think?
Well, the guy, okay, let me check the name real quick.
Let me look.
Don Siegel.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, in High Plains Drifter, the sheriff that gets beat to death with the whip, that's Clint Eastwood's stunt double, who also went on to direct a Dirty Harry movie and stuff. So
the first one or one of them, because Siegel directed the first one. It looks like, but that's
he didn't direct the first one. I think they said he directed Deadpool.
Okay. Yeah, but otherwise, Siegel directed like Escape from Alcatraz, obviously, Dirty Harry, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, The Beguiled with Clint Eastwood. 2 Meals for Sister Sarah, and Coogan's Bluff, also with Clint Eastwood. There you go.
Yep. But yeah, that was like the whole point of like just go into that was like the whole point of using his stunt double in High Plains, or not High Plains Drifter. Is that what it's called? I'm starting to forget the name of it again. I just watched it and I just bought that on 4K.
I thought it was Hang 'em High, but you could be right.
It's High Plains Drifter, I think.
Is it? Okay. Or do you mean that's the one he directed? Because I thought Clint directed High Plains Drifter.
No, Clint Eastwood directed, but the stunt double, his stunt double was used as the guy they whipped to death, to keep it ambiguous as to whether he was the marshal.
Oh, yeah. Never mind. I'm sorry. I remember what you did. Yep, never mind.
Yeah.
You totally, it's my fault. Never mind.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. But yeah, it's good cleanliness. But that scan actually looked pretty good. It wasn't. I mean, it wasn't something I would say it popped, but it looked good and it sounded good. So I was pleasantly happy with that one. It's better than the Blu-ray,
Well,
way better. So
and the only other thing I could say on the side of sticking to the Blu-ray with Alcatraz opposed to the DVD to the 4K, because I've never seen the old Blu-ray, I can't speak to it.
right.
That's one of the few, because I even checked. I'm like, don't I have this one? And surprisingly, no, I don't. Because I have like almost all the Warner Brothers and all the Universal Clint movies, but I don't have this one for some reason. And yeah, I couldn't compare it. But I mean, this is also not one of his westerns or something like that, to where a lot of it's in dark, dreary prison scenes. So yeah, I guess I
Yeah.
could see like it all depends on, you know. I'd have to see the original though. So, you know, maybe wait till that one dude who we like the maybe he probably already has one up where he compares the old Blu-rays to the new scans
Oh,
usually,
yeah.
and he does the slide thing so you can see the difference. Maybe check into one of those and see if you think it's that big of a difference for you. I don't know.
I will. I
I
will.
forgot the name of that fucking channel, but that's a great channel. I love that
Um,
channel.
what is his name? I
I
think I'm
can't
trying to
remember now,
remember.
but he every time one pops up on my feed, I watch it, and then I'm like, it always usually helps me decide whether or not I'm going to upgrade.
Is he called
I'll find it
Physical
here.
Media Guy or something? Maybe it's
No,
what it's
it's
called.
something. He's actually not from the U.S. too. That's the other thing.
Oh. There's so
I,
many of them. I watch myself that I forget their names.
I
Other
know. I
than
wish I could
like
remember it. Oh,
serial midnight films at home. I remember those because those are like the top or mid level media. I remember those,
hang
and then
on,
like the rest are like
I got it
there's
here.
so many.
It is HD. Who does them? At least
Huh?
the ones that I usually watch. Let's see. Does
Huh?
it have an Escape from Alcatraz up yet? At least these are some of the ones I've seen, but yeah, no, not yet. So we'll wait and see if he has one. But yeah, like his latest
Uh,
he's got up here or some newer ones. He's got Double Jeopardy up. We can see how bad that is.
I've heard it was really bad. I've heard Double
Yeah,
Jeopardy was really bad. Funny
yeah.
you should bring that up, Joey, about Clint Eastwood making a movie, John Wayne. Clint Eastwood, that goes right back to the movie I was just talking about, the High Plains Drifter or whatever. I'm thinking it's High Plains Drifter. Um, Clint Eastwood wrote John Wayne a letter saying we should do a western together after he made that movie, and then John Wayne wrote him a hateful letter back saying what you make is not a western because he didn't like the anti-hero, the darkness. He did not like it, so him and John Wayne never made a movie together because of that.
Oh wow, this looks bad. Now, granted, you're not getting the full resolution because of it being on YouTube, but it doesn't look a whole lot better than the Blu-ray. Not really.
Yeah, not much, does it?
It looks like they're from the same scan.
Doesn't look like
Now
much
that
has
one looks
changed.
a little bit better, but not much in the close-up there either. No, you're right.
Yeah,
That one
that
looks like they
looks.
zoomed in.
Yeah, I was gonna say it looked like it face was zoomed in on it.
That looks a little bit better, but yeah, they reframed it. A little bit better, but I don't have the old Blu-ray, so whatever. But I did get the new one, so I guess I know what I'm up for.
Yeah.
All right, is it your turn now?
Yeah, it's my turn. Okay, so I was going to bring this up a minute ago when we was talking Star Trek because it's Star Trek. But I watched Best of Both Worlds, Part 1 and 2.
Locutus.
The cutest aboard. Now this is where they edited into like a movie.
A movie.
It's
Yeah.
all one thing. And with special features by, can you guess? Who did the special features?
Randall Cobb.
So close. It was Robert Meyer Burnett.
Which is funny because he might show up some point. Who knows?
Oh, really? But yes, this has got the nice little plastic slip cover here. And so the special features are only on this. It's not on the Blu-ray box set. So that's why I kept it. And then it's got the whole little like that. That's basically. But yes, I felt like watching. I got the Star Trek movies on 4K. You weren't here the day I showed them. and I felt like going back and watching the cutest of Borg or the best of both worlds. I got to say, I really, really, just still really enjoy this episode. Especially the first hour. The first hour is just so good. It's so ominous and it's so dark and it feels so different than what we had seen on the Next Generation up to that point, and it feels very movie, very cinematic. And honestly, there's oftentimes I wonder if they would have had the balls, what would they have did if they really did like kill off Captain Picard and let Riker become captain and bring on the lady Brian Dennehy's daughter as the first mate. I think about that. I mean, of course, I feel like they made the right call with keeping Picard alive and moving forward. And maybe the second episode wasn't as eventful as I was hoping it would be, but I still enjoy it. But I still think about what if they killed him, or what if that he stayed Locutus of Borg and he became like the overarching villain of the series and showed up every once in a while with the Borg to face Riker. I think about that. I think that could have been something very interesting, intriguing. However, like I said, I think they made the right call with keeping Picard alive, and it's a great two-parter episode that really does feel very cinematic on a TV show that from the '90s. And I know we talked before about how you don't watch the original series with the new special features or special effects. I think they work the new.
Sometimes.
Yeah, I think the newer updated special effects work better on the Next Generation.
I don't think they really did anything for next gen. I thought they just
Basically they upscaled it. Basically they fix it, make it clearer and looks more natural.
I was gonna say, I know for the optical effects, they just or for the stuff that they just redid the optical effects in the computer.
Yeah,
But
it's just basically like that.
it
But it
wasn't
looks
until
good.
later seasons that they had to deal with CGI and stuff. So that I don't know.
Yeah. So, but it looks good, and it does say on this there's one scene that is upconverted from SD, and you can tell when that scene pops in, but it's only for like 2 seconds, and then it goes right back into being HD. So yeah, it looks good. It's a fun episode. It's darker than anticipated. It's the music is beautiful in this one, which they actually won an Emmy for the music on this. Then it's got a nice little 30-minute documentary written by our friend Robert Meyer Burnett and edited by him, but not directed by him. About what's it called here? Regeneration, engaging the Borg. It's a really great, fascinating documentary about that. So that was a fun watch. And then it's got gag reels, and I love the little TV commercials, episodic promos that they put on there. Those are fun to watch. Those old TV commercials. But yep, there you go. I watched Best of Both Worlds 1 and 2. That's about all I got for it. Let's see what here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I have not seen those episodes in forever.
I figured that's why I figured a lot of
you
my
know what?
stuff.
Hang on to that for a few minutes though until our guest gets here.
I will.
He may have more to say about that. So while we're waiting for them, I'm gonna jump into. You know what? Here, let's do a Kino Warner or Kino Paramount title that actually turned out pretty good. I have a lot of Kino titles tonight, guys.
All right.
Because I finally got my Kino box. For those who are keeping up with the drama, I've been having issues with the pre-orders on Amazon with Kino, so I went and did a bunch of orders on Kino, but I made the mistake of putting them all in the same order. So I had to wait till certain movies come out till I got them all. So finally I got all of them figured out. This is one that came out recently. It's Paul Newman in Nobody's Fool. It also stars Melanie Griffith, Bruce Willis. I don't know if you've ever seen this one or not, Greg.
Yes, I have. And I was going to ask you, how does the 4K look when she flashes her titties?
This is a much better 4K than the other Kino Paramount title. Of course, it's a little slightly newer film than Alcatraz, so at the time it was shot and everything like that. Looks good. Sound wise, I mean, I think it already was mixed in. I think it had a 5.1 mix already from the beginning, so it has that on there. I'm pretty sure. As far as extras, there's not much. There's just a commentary from film historian, a couple interviews with some of the lesser actors in the film, and I don't mean lesser and like whatever, but I mean they're not in the movie as much. But for those who haven't seen the movie, I recommend it. It's a little slice of life movie about this guy that everybody thinks is the most irresponsible guy in town, but it turns out he's responsible for all the misfits in town.
Yeah, he's kind of
And
holding it all together, isn't he? It's a
yeah,
good movie.
it's a very good movie, and I think Paul Newman, I don't know if he won, but I know he got nominated for it. And yeah, it's I think did he win?
Um, I'll have to look it up.
I'm looking on the back right now to see if it says anything. It doesn't even say Oscar nominated or Oscar winning, so I'm pretty sure I thought it got. I could have swore.
I
Find
don't know,
out.
but
I'm looking.
I enjoyed it.
Yes, Paul Newman
Yeah, best actor in a leading role.
was a
Paul Newman,
nominee.
Oscar
Yep, and so
nominee.
wasn't
Yep.
the writing. So, yep.
Meh. I enjoy it. It's a nice little fun movie. And then, what Bruce Willis plays, is that his son in the movie? Who was his son?
His son, I don't remember the actor's name, but he's not
He
somebody
was
I'd seen
the one
him.
married to Melanie Griffith or something, right?
No,
Is that
Bruce
how it
Willis
was?
was married to Melanie Griffith. It must have been a while
Yeah,
since
Bruce
he's seen
Willis.
this movie.
Yeah, that's what I was. That's why
So
I
the
was
whole
thinking
thing
of.
is he's like been estranged from his son, and his son, he happens to run into him, and it's been like the first time in years.
Mhm.
And his son invites him to Thanksgiving at his mom's, Paul Newman's ex-wife's place, basically. But at the same time, he's working for Bruce Willis, whose wife happens to be Melanie Griffith, but Bruce Willis is doing nothing but cheating on her. Paul Newman thinks that Bruce Willis owes him money from a job that he never got paid for and got hurt on. So he's been trying to sue him. it's
Yeah.
it's this really funny thing. So that sets off this thing where he starts stealing his fucking snowblower. Philip Seymour Hoffman's in it as well. Thank you, Bryant, who plays this cop, which is a brilliant bit as well. Like it's kind of an episodic. It almost feels like it could have made a great, weird, awkward, off-kilter comedy show,
Like Northern Exposure.
Yes, in that vein, or like not quite. What was that other one they had that took place in Wisconsin? I'm trying to remember. Shit.
I know what you're talking about.
I think like Ivan Reitman or Harold Ramis was like one of the executive producers on it too, and I can't remember what it was now, or somebody like that. I can't remember now.
Weird Wisconsin?
Maybe that.
Is that what it's called?
Fences. Maybe that's what I was thinking of. Picket Fences, maybe.
Oh yeah, Picket Fences. That's what I was thinking about. Tom Skerritt's in it, right?
Yeah, doesn't that take place in Wisconsin too, or was that a different show I'm thinking of?
It might be.
Anyway,
but I get what you're talking about. Yeah,
almost like a Fargo thing to a point, Joey, but not the crime part of it. Like I said, the whole crutch or the whole like theme of the movie, especially with the title, is that the point of it is everybody thinks that Paul Newman's character is this big fucking loser who has no luck, takes no responsibility for anything, has no aspects whatsoever in his life, but yet he's actually responsible for all the misfits in town and keeping the town together, like Greg said. And welcome, one and all.
welcome.
This is not vodka. No. I've started a rigorous workout program, and I'm off the booze, trying to get in shape. Because I'm old and could die.
Oh, well,
so I like working out. I like working out, strict workout regimen and all that. A lot of tea and a lot of water.
Yeah.
And a lot of physical media. This bad boy just showed up. Really happy about that.
Yeah, I got mine today. Yeah.
There you go. Runner would be so mad right now.
Who would be mad?
Runner. He's usually our third.
Oh.
He loves that movie, and he's never been on here when you've been on here. He would be so mad.
Well,
right now.
Dawn of the Dead, the original, is one of my favorite films of all time, and it was one of the. You know how there's a lot of pre-hatred for things on the internet?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I had a lot of pre-hatred for Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead, written by James Gunn.
Same here.
I was ready to hate this movie with every fiber of my being. And when I went and saw it, I saw it in the theater, I think opening day, and I liked it. I mean, it doesn't have the overall, it doesn't have the journey that I think that the first Dawn of the Dead does. But it's a respectable remake. Kind of like, there's another great Romero remake that gets no love, which is The Crazies. with Timothy Olyphant.
I actually like that one. I have that
I
one.
love that film. I think it's a really, really, really well done movie. It does a really. What's really great about The Crazies is it's very smart in that when you watch what happens, like the sheriff of the town, everybody's really, really smart. Like the sheriff understands something's going down, and he tries to be ahead of the government when he's figuring stuff out. They're just a little bit ahead of him.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think they did that one pretty decently. I do like it. Plus, I like Timothy
It did
Olyphant.
surprise
so.
me. And you know
Yeah.
what's funny is that was one of the earlier movies I bootlegged on the internet because I didn't want to go pay for it in the theater for that very reason, Robert. But I couldn't not see it.
You mean The Crazies?
No.
Dawn of the Dead.
Sorry. Because somebody had told me, I'm like, I don't want to see that. They're like, oh, it's fucking awesome. I'm like, well, yeah, I'm good.
And
Like, I like the original.
This director's cut, because it's got both the theatrical and the director's cut on Blu-ray, but the uncut version's on 4K, and it's got one of the great references to any other movie, the early movie when you see the WGON helicopter with the logo from the original. There's an overhead shot that's in the director's cut that's really, really good.
But yeah, but my buddy was telling me about it, and he wasn't really selling me on it, And then he said, "Oh, but this one takes place in Wisconsin." I'm like, "What?" Or he's like, "Yeah, this one's in Wisconsin." I'm like, "All right, maybe I'll check it out then." So I downloaded it from, I don't even remember what it was at that time, the Kazoo or whatever the hell the downloading thing was at that point. Who knows? But yeah, I was like super impressed by it.
Brian Barth says something really interesting. He says The Thing is a god tier remake. I agree. I think that The Thing is a great film, but I don't consider it a remake. It's just a new adaptation of the original John W. Campbell story. Yeah, who goes there? So it's a remake. To me, a remake has to be a remake of a film that exists only as a film. If it exists as a book or a short story or something, like I don't consider Soderbergh's Solaris a remake of Tarkovsky's Solaris because it's based on a book by
I agree with
Stanislaw
you,
Lem.
Robert. The only exception to that rule I will take is I will say that a movie crosses over into remake territory from readaptation territory when, like, for instance, not Christine, geez. What was the other one I'm thinking of? Stephen King, Carrie.
Oh, Carrie.
When they readapted that, the studio wanted them to go back and shoot a bunch of scenes of stuff that wasn't in the book, but stuff that was in the original film.
Yeah, and see, that's when it
De
gets...
Palma's film, and that's where I say the ground gets muddy. You're like, okay,
I
it's
agree.
more of a remake, yeah.
I agree. It's funny, Rusty Shackelford in the chat says The Hills Have Eyes remake was actually better than the original. I would agree with him on that, only because, the original was made for very, very little money, and the filmmaking expertise at the time, wasn't what I think. It just the director of the remake was a far more accomplished filmmaker than Wes Craven was. But I still love.
I don't know about better, but yeah, I do agree that's a good one. It's in the same vein as Dawn of the Dead, because I don't think it's nearly as good as the original. But as far as remakes go, it's like you could have done a hell of a lot worse. Like, I really love the stuff with Ving Rhames and the guy, and they're doing the whole like writing and back and forth like that. What I thought was ingenious, things they added. It was like, okay, this is what I like when they do with remakes. Like Brian Barth brought up Scarface, like that's a remake really in almost name and concept only. Once you get past that, it's like you're really going into far territory because it's a completely different film. To where this keeps all the elements of the original film, but builds upon them in such an ingenious way. I mean, the only thing I guess I didn't care for as much as, like, I thought there was too many people, and I didn't like.
You mean in the remake? We're talking Hills Have Eyes.
Yeah. No, Dawn of the Dead. Yeah.
Dawn of the Dead.
I know. I need to be more. Yeah.
I didn't know. Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, but it was cool. The idea of the zombie baby.
It was cool, but it just the way it was executed, it just kind of came off weird.
I just think that
maybe more Zack Snyder fucking up a James Gunn idea, maybe.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Possibly,
I just think that it was. I mean, there was a lot of stuff that it didn't. It wasn't stupid, and it had some things like when the man comes to town, the Johnny Cash song at the beginning, the opening credits. It just the thing about Zack Snyder is that I don't think he's a very deep thinker.
No.
And for instance, like I have a kind of a love-hate relationship with Watchmen, in that Watchmen is a recreation of the graphic novel as opposed to an adaptation. And then the script, how they changed the I don't mind the twist at the end with Dr. Manhattan and all that, but the problem is that that movie there's nothing in it that isn't in the graphic novel. I mean, the scenes are almost page for page or shot for shot remakes of it's almost like they just shot certain scenes, and then the choice of music is so on the nose, it's not clever. And the thing that's why I say I have a love-hate relationship with it. I love the Watchmen comics so much. I do like watching the movie.
Yeah, I do like the movie.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah.
But it's not,
you're probably one of the few people I've talked to that agrees with me, though, or at least I agree with, I should say, that the ending, I don't know if you think it's better, but I think it works a little bit better than the comic book. It's not as convoluted.
I agree.
I think it simplifies it a little bit more. It's the same effect.
I'm with you, Tom.
It makes more sense in that world, especially with the way Rorschach reacts.
Yep.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
I just don't think the giant alien tentacle thing stuff would have worked. The starfish did whatever I can't remember at the moment, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, it is that. It's the giant alien squid.
Yeah, squid. I don't think that would have worked in the movie.
Well, and it also ties in with Manhattan kind of just losing his connection with humanity, right?
Right.
Like throughout the film, that's his whole journey. He's trying to find a connection back to humanity, and he finally finds a kernel of it, in his wife, and realizing, you are so, you are unique. The fact that you exist is, he goes through his whole existential thing. But that moment, he kind of realizes, no, this is the way it has to be. This is the only way humanity can come to peace. And if it's making me the enemy, then so be it. I'm fine with that because I'm ready to give up on humanity anyway, right?
I love this, what Davina Duckworth says. She says she's not a big fan of facsimile movies. I totally agree. I mean, look, 300, again, is a recreation of Frank Miller's comic, but that's all it really is. And I'm not saying it's an
saves it pretty much, but
I'm not saying it's an easy thing to do, but
between the ending and what's his face is Rorschach, I just forgot his name.
Jackie Earle Haley.
Yeah.
Like those two things alone make that movie.
I mean, I've got a figure of him right there. I bought, actually, it's right here. The So Toys is doing the Watchmen. I had to buy two because I had to get the one where he's just Walter Kovacs with the end is nigh sign.
I do.
That's what's up there.
You can't see, but I have Rorschach and Night Owl up on my wall. Even if I turn it, it's past the posters.
Right.
I have the Rorschach. It's up on the wall. But yeah, it's that's my favorite character from that, and I love that scene where he just did the pain and anguish in his face. He's like, "Do it."
Oh, it's great. Well, he's the acting in that movie is really really good.
He should almost got nominated for it. Especially, I love the scene where he's like, I'm not in here with you. You're in here with me."
Yeah. The only misstep is I don't think Matthew Good is playing Ozymandias correctly.
Not very well, no.
Because when you meet him, I love Matthew Good. I think he should have gotten an Emmy Award for playing Bob Evans in The Offer. But when you meet him, he's, "Hello, Dan." He's almost
that's the same guy?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, to me, Matthew Good, he was in Tom Ford, the fashion designer, has made two movies, and he was in Tom Ford's first movie, A Single Man.
He's amazing as Bob Evans. You're like, holy shit, that's Bob Evans.
He's so good. But the thing is, I always liked the idea that when they first started talking about Sam Hamm, who wrote Tim Burton's Batman, wrote the first draft of Watchmen that I ever read, and it was a very different film.
Was that the one that Gilliam was supposed to direct or whatever?
Yeah, and it opens with a hostage situation at the Statue of Liberty. These terrorists have taken hostages, and these superheroes show up. I think it's the Minutemen, and then the Statue of Liberty gets blown up and everybody gets killed, and that's when superheroes are outlawed. I mean, that's how it started, and it's a totally different movie. But they talked about when they were going to cast Ozymandias that they were going to cast somebody like Tom Cruise, like somebody with a big smile, like, "Hey, everybody," like the exact opposite of of a Steve Jobs or an Elon Musk, somebody that's so warm and just, hey, I'm the smartest man in the world. What can I do for you?
Yeah.
So when he does his heel turn, which, by the way, in the one of my favorite things in any comic book, like I was reading Watchmen when it was coming out, and I thought it was like the greatest thing ever. And it has issue 11 has the greatest ending of all time when, Ozymandias says in the movie, he says, I'm not some Republic serial, or he says that in the comic. I forget what he says in the movie, but he says, I'm not some Republic serial villain, Dan. Do you think I would explain my master stroke if there was a possibility of you two affecting its outcome?
I think he just says comic book or funny.
Yeah, comic book. I think he says comic book villain.
Yeah.
Because nobody knows what a Republic serial was.
Yeah.
So, and it was so great because you the reader, you're following this mystery plot, and then when it's revealed in issue 11 that it is Ozymandias who's put this whole thing in motion, as the reader, I'm like, oh my God. And when he explains this and you realize as the reader, and then he says, I did it 38 minutes ago. And you turn the last page of the comic is just Rorschach. It's a 2-shot. It's almost like a 50-50, but it's not because there's like this. And it's Rorschach and Night Owl, and it just fades to white. And then the rest of the page just turns into one big white panel. And that was the end of issue 11. And then there was a delay for issue 12 to come out. And issue 12 is just 8 full splash pages of dead people, bloody dead people.
I remember that splash page.
It was the greatest thing.
I got the hardcover, but
we lost him. He left.
He'll be back. He'll be back.
But hey, speaking of on your last movie, Picket Fences was in Rome, Wisconsin.
Yes,
so what you were talking about.
Well, while we're mentioning Terry Gilliam, real quick, one of the movies I watched was Baron Munchausen. Speaking of Terry Gilliam, welcome back.
I don't know what happened. That's the 4K, right? I have to get that.
Yes, it is.
You know what? I feel guilty because I wait now to buy all the Criterion discs at the sales.
Don't, because the price wise, you might as well. And I mean, this is a good disc. Don't get me wrong, but I mean,
well, that's the thing. There, I love. I've been buying. Next year will be the 40th year that I've bought Criterion.
40. Nice.
How long have they been around?
They've been around for 40 years. They started. They
That's
were
what
part
I was about to assume.
Yeah, they were the first things they ever made were CAV laserdiscs of King Kong and Citizen Kane. Those are their first releases.
I knew that. I knew that for some reason. I didn't. Yeah.
But
so, that's how fucking old I am.
Because isn't that the first time that King Kong was released in its original version since it was cut down?
I believe it was. And it was amazing.
Turner Classic also showed it. That was the first time I ever saw it myself.
Yeah.
Same thing with Citizen Kane. But yeah, no, since you had bopped out there, I said, well, since we brought up Terry Gilliam, I got this disc of Baron Munchausen, and Sony did the scan, and it looks brilliant.
Well, their transfers they've always been stunning.
Well, I found out what the secret behind that is, Robert. I don't know if you knew this or not. Quentin Tarantino went to Rothman and said, you've got to do all your scans from the negative. And Rothman says, you're right. So since then, they've done all their scans from the negatives, and they've made sure to give them all really good treatment.
Well, and also because it is Sony and they did invent the Blu-ray format.
That's true too. But before that, I guess there was a few movies that they were just scanning from like the inner positives and stuff.
But I mean, that's the real problem with a lot of these transfers. They don't. Like, I really appreciate what Kino Lorber is doing, but they can only do they did the scan of Suspects, but they have to accept what scans they're given by the studios.
Yes.
And the problem is there's less and less money being spent on those things because they can get away with not doing what they should do.
It's funny you mentioned that because I got a gripe coming up about all that stuff.
I look forward to hearing it.
Yes.
But yeah, so Baron Munchausen, though, sounds great. There's 2 discs of Blu-rays that I think all have special features on them. Tons and tons of stuff. I didn't even get to dive into the special features. But surprisingly enough, even though I'd known this movie existed for years, I'd never actually seen it in its entirety.
Wow.
And so the other night was the first time I ever watched it in its entirety. And it's a joy. And I'm just sitting here thinking, God, Terry Gilliam, why did they give him such a hard time? I know he was like one of those guys who'd give him one budget and he'd fuss for a while and all that business. But after a while, you think, this guy's a genius. Just give him what he wants. Because everything he does, it just takes it to the next level. I mean, it's like give him a kid's movie. He takes it to the next level. or a family film, whatever you want to call it. Because it just, I don't know. I even as an adult here, I'm watching this in awe, and I know how they do all these special effects, but I'm just like, how did he get away with doing all this in 91 or whatever this movie came out? 90, not
something
even
like that. Yeah, and it was a huge.
Like
it was another debacle coming on the heels of Brazil.
Yeah,
you know.
Which now is beloved by people. That's the thing. Is like, he's way ahead of his time. I mean, that's the obvious thing to say, but
yeah, absolutely.
I mean, he did walk off the set of Taika Waititi's Time Bandit show. So
did you hear about that?
No.
You did? You hear about that?
Yeah,
He walked off
I guess he's an EP or whatever on the new Apple Time Bandit series, and he got so pissed with Taika Waititi that he walked off the set.
I mean, there's genius and there's crazy, whatever Taika Waititi, what you want to call him. So
yeah, Taika Waititi.
Yeah, and then he was talking some smack about him, I guess. So yeah,
yeah. But Terry Gilliam has always had some really great movies. Yeah, I don't understand all the fuss they always gave him.
What can you do?
Yeah.
Is he somebody you ever got to meet, Robert, or no?
I've never met Taika Waititi. Never.
Or Terry.
I've never met Terry either.
Okay. All right. So what do you got for us, Greg?
Well, I was going to show him real quick the one I had before.
Yeah. Did you want to comment on that? We were talking about that just a little bit ago.
I did the special features on that disc.
I know. I was watching. I watched it last night.
So what was really interesting when we were doing the Star Trek: The Next Generation Blu-rays, and for a time we were the only new Star Trek programming. The J.J. Abrams movies were being made, but we were the only new Star Trek programming that CBS was making. And what was interesting was, obviously, we had the involvement of all the central cast of TNG. And I interviewed them all. We had 2 sessions of 2 hours each. So I interviewed each cast member for 4 hours. And then I hosted a roundtable conversation with the whole cast that's on the season 2 disc. But what they decided to do was to promote the sets. And so there'd be a lot of people that what happened was, and this was kind of unfortunate, the restoration effort for Star Trek: The Next Generation was one of the most extensive television restorations in history. They went back to the negative because when Star Trek: The Next Generation was made, in order to keep costs down, all the visual effects were shot on film, but they were composited on videotape.
Which is funny because I just was talking about this earlier today on 4K.
Yeah, we was on 4K for you.
Oh, and so what that means is, sometimes they would have 10 VTRs or VCRs daisy chained together to combine all of the elements. And what I mean by elements is, so when they shoot a model like the Enterprise, they would do multiple passes. So they would shoot a beauty pass, they would shoot a interior light pass, they would shoot a nacelle pass, they would shoot a matte pass, and they would shoot multiple passes for one shot. So whenever you see the Enterprise fly by, it might be made up of 6 to 10 pieces of film. And they would combine them all. Normally they would combine them at the time on an optical printer. But when Next Generation was made, they combined them on videotape, which means, and they did that because if they did it individually, you'd lose videotape degraded, the image degraded each time you copied it over and over and over again. Mm-hmm. And now it was finished at 480 by 640 pixels.
Not only that, wasn't it cheaper to do on video as well as
it was
doing it optically? That was the other thing I was saying.
Optically it would have been hideously expensive. So the problem with that is, and the problem with all the Next Generation was, because they finished on videotape, there was no cut negative. Like the original series has a cut negative. So they can go back and scan the negative in at 2K, 4K, but not with Next Generation. So the idea was, well, how are we going to do this? And they did the right thing. They said, okay, we have to go back to the negative, and we have to rebuild all of the series. Every episode of TNG had to be rebuilt from scratch.
Yeah.
As if they were taking it through post again. And then also, the sound was only mixed in 2-channel stereo. So it only had left and right, the stereo pairs. So when they decided to spend the money, the restoration for Next Generation is 178 episodes. It cost about $14 million. Jeez. And it took 4 years. So you had a team of people, let's call it 30 people. And what they did was they first of all had to find all the negative. Then they had to rescan the negative. Then they had to re-edit the negative exactly like the original shows, which wasn't hard. And then they had to add they had to redo all the credits, and because they were all video generated before,
Right.
and they were done on a computer. They had to do everything, color time it again.
So what did you guys use as a guide for the cutting timing of the episodes? Did
Well,
you use
what
a
was
Laserdisc, or what did you use?
No, we didn't restore the
Did you have
episodes.
the
CBS Digital did. All we did was do all the special features.
Oh, okay.
So, but what was really interesting, so when they
Do you know what they followed to do that,
well,
or?
they followed the original episodes and the extensive notes. There was extensive notes for those. Notes are not as extensive on Deep Space Nine or Voyager. So if they ever go back, it's going to be harder to do.
Yeah,
so
you and Bill both said those two are probably improbable of ever getting.
Yeah, that's what people ask me like that. I say I just don't see Voyager and Deep Space Nine getting Blu-rays anytime soon.
The problem too is not so much. I mean, Deep Space Nine, yes, but Voyager has such extensive CG,
a lot of CGI,
and they've talked a lot about they can, if they had all the files, they can rebuild them and up-res them and add detail. But unfortunately, they should have just kept going. But at the time, so what happened was in 2012, 13, and 14, when we were working on this project, streaming began. The rise of streaming happened, and Star Trek was streamable all over the place. And a lot of people, especially fans, did not understand what this restoration entailed. And when we first started getting the final versions, if you have an original copy on Laserdisc or tape or DVD, if you A/B the difference between the standard definition Next Generation episodes and the Blu-ray versions, it's unbelievable. I mean, the difference is it's 6 times better, but the black of space did not look black. It looks gray, kind of this misty gray because of there's no true blacks on NTSC video. It was terrible. And blues and reds have problems. But when we first started seeing these episodes come in, it was insane. And then when Marvin Rush took over as the DP in season 3, the show looked, so what they would do is they would send us groups of episodes when they would finish them. So I would get 3 or 4 episodes at a time as they were done to make the documentaries, because I use clips from every episode within the documentaries. And at the same time, we traveled all over. I went to New York to interview Patrick Stewart. We went up to Calgary, Canada to shoot the cast for the 25th cast reunion. And we were all over the place doing these things, and getting the episodes in was stunning. And sometimes they didn't have all the elements, so they did have to cheat and recreate something in CG. And it's funny because I have a lot of elements. I was in there. There's an episode called Heart of Glory, which is a Klingon episode from the first season, and in it they used footage from Star Trek: The Motion Picture. And it was 2K versions of the Klingon attack from the very beginning of the movie, and just the model shots. And I'm a model maker, and I'm like, oh my God, they're reference quality shots where you can actually see the paint ops on the cover, on the top of the ship model. I'm like, can I have those? I don't really need them, but can you make them for me? And they would send me whatever I wanted.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I speaking of Time Bandits, I've told the story before. I probably told it on the show, but I'll tell it again. So David Rappaport, the actor who played the leader of the Time Bandits. Well, actually, let me get back to the disc you showed. Okay. So what happened was, to promote the Next Generation, they were finished in 2K. To promote the Blu-rays, they decided to have these one-night theatrical Fathom events. Mm-hmm. And so they would show 2 episodes, and then I made cut downs of the blooper reels, which I made, and then the documentaries. So they would show 2 episodes that were 90 minutes, and then they showed a cut down version of blooper reels I did. And CBS would send me this string out of bloopers. Sometimes they were 4 hours. Most of them were not very good, but I would cut them down into 10-minute reels, and that's what you see on the discs. So they decided to put out these movies, and then with Best of Both Worlds, in case somebody was a casual Next Generation fan, they decided to take the 2-part episodes and combine them into one episode. Yeah. So Best of Both Worlds is a 90-minute instead of being a two-parter, it's just one long movie.
Yeah.
And then they did that with Redemption for seasons 4 and 5, and Unification for season 5, and then Chain of Command for season 6, and then All Good Things. And since they were putting these single discs out, we were able to start doing audio commentaries, finding bloopers for these specific discs, and then we made half-hour documentaries. That's when I interviewed like Elizabeth Dennehy as Shelby, and Ronnie Cox, who played Jellicoe.
Yeah.
And that was a lot of fun because we could spend a lot of time, because these were people that we weren't able to get a hold of when we were doing the regular box set. So all those interviews only appear on those single discs.
That's why I kept that one, because those interviews and that documentary is only on that. So that's why I kept Best of Both Worlds, and I really loved it.
I mean, I feel bad that like what happens is, since they replicate the discs, they've already authored the discs. They can't put those. When the box set came out, we really lobbied for them to put those 5 discs on separate discs and add them to the box set.
Oh, yeah,
and I wish they would, but they didn't. So if you buy the complete seasons, they've got the complete seasons discs, but they would have to add 5 more discs to the set, because if they wanted to, they didn't. That would be the only way, because those are the only authored masters that they had, and they weren't going to do that.
Yeah.
Which is, I thought they should release like one box set with all 5 in there, because those. And then there's the Missing documentary that only I have, where we did I did a 15-minute documentary on when they first started doing Next Generation. We found a tape when we were doing the Blu-rays that I had never seen anything from before in my life ever, of the CG tests they did in 1987. There was thoughts that they were going to do CG ships.
Wow.
So they were going to be and we saw them, and so I did a documentary called The Trek Not Taken. And it was a 15-minute documentary finished in HD, and they decided to give it to Best Buy as a Best Buy exclusive, but it was only downloadable in standard definition. And which was counterproductive, considering it was all the things were HD, and the documentary is finished in HD. I have it on my computer, and I've tried to post it on YouTube, but it always gets flagged. Paramount always takes it down, which is stupid because it doesn't exist anywhere else. I've been thinking about putting up on my Vimeo page and just sending people there. Right. If you want to take a look at it, here it is on the Vimeo.
Yeah, hell yeah, I would love to see that.
Definitely, I would love to see that.
It's pretty interesting. You can see why they didn't do it. It wouldn't have worked.
Right. But no, I really want to see that now. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to see it now too. Like, I'm still trying to get the work prints for Jason Goes to Hell and all those that leaked not too long ago. Yeah. But yeah, I was watching that last night, and I knew you did the special features on that, and I just had a blast because I hadn't seen Best of Both Worlds in a long time, and so I figured I'd watch it like a movie last night, like that.
Well, it looks incredible.
It looks beautiful. It does say there's one scene that was an SD scene that had to be inserted in, but it's only like a second, and you don't know. By. So yeah.
Well, I'll tell you something that nobody knows. All of the transporter effects, every time somebody uses the transporter, they couldn't find those elements. So every time in the Next Generation restoration somebody uses the transporter, the transporter effects are actually from standard definition videotape.
Oh, well, it blends pretty well.
It's the transporter, so nobody would know.
It looks good. Yeah. And I was just talking about how theorizes, like, I do wonder from time to time if they would have killed Captain Picard at the end, and like Riker take over and Shelby take as. I think about that, or if like he stayed Locutus and he became like the overarching villain of the series. That would have been something interesting, but I do think they made the right call.
Television wasn't as advanced then as it was now.
Back then, no. But yeah,
I mean, there was also thoughts of making Tom Riker take over and killing our Riker.
Oh, really?
When the transporter duplicate was found.
Yeah.
So
that'd have been interesting.
Yeah.
But this is Runner, usually our third, and he has been dying to be on a stream with you when you show up.
Hello, sir.
And he's never here.
Well, thanks for
coming on. He's a young
on.
physical media collector.
Yeah,
We've been nurturing him.
I'm a fan.
It's always good to have the young. Well, you know what? What I love is that people are, if you're a collector, there's never been a better time to collect physical media because we're at the end of physical media. So all the 4K discs are the best physical media has ever been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course,
Yeah,
it's
I've
also
been-
the most annoying because people know less about movies now than they've ever known as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Tell
I-
me about it.
I have a full library right now of 4Ks because of these two up here.
You're coming
And
through
I-
the wrong mic, Runner.
Yeah, your
Oh, I
mic's a little
am?
dull.
Shit.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean that's the great thing. I mean, 4K discs are, man. It's funny. I was watching I believe it or not, I was watching The Matrix Resurrections. I was watching that 4K disc because I read a review of how reference quality it was, and it is. But then I went back and watched Reloaded. I just watched the car chase scene in Reloaded because I wanted to watch it in Atmos and Dolby Vision. And boy, is that a great disc! Those Matrix
Nice.
discs are so good.
Too
So
bad
good.
the movies were better.
I know.
But
But they look really good.
Yeah, they're eye
Pleasure
candy
of
at least,
mine.
I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, but
Matrix Reloaded is a guilty pleasure of mine. So
well, I don't think I like it because it's so weird, and the car chase
Yeah.
scene's really cool.
It's not
and-
as bad as the third one, that's for sure.
no.
oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. The third one's kind of a letdown.
There's
but,
still hope, but yeah, at that point, then you get to the third one, you're just like,
You're
what the hell
hanging
is this?
on. Yeah, but
I just want to collect as many movies, especially like obscure sci-fi. I love that they announced John Rowland's some of his lesbian vampire movies are coming out, like the Two
I love
Orphan
those.
Vampires and what's the other one? But Powerhouse Indicators putting those out because I love those John Rowland movies. Half these movies are going to get people are going to scream bloody murder about them, and these are exploitation films. They're terrible for the world, and we need to get rid of them all. And blah 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 blah. You're not touching my collection.
The beauty
yeah.
is that most of these the boutique companies, a lot of these whiners don't even know about them yet. So that's
I know.
the
Yeah.
beauty of it.
I'm
It's
really
a- yeah.
surprised. Like when they put out a 3-disc set of I Spit on Your Grave. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm glad no one's
Yeah.
seen this movie.
they were
It's-
selling
and you know
that at Walmart.
It's not even as
Valentine's
bad
Day.
as most people kind of built it up to be.
It's
I just
pretty
seen
bad,
it for the first time. It's bad, but it's not nearly as bad compared to some of the shit that comes out now.
It's not as
really.
bad as, say, the scene in Irreversible where Monica Bellucci's raped for 9 minutes.
Well, yeah,
It's
in
not
that
that bad.
respect. But like at the same time, I'm just like, I've seen a lot worse than this compared to what it was built up as.
Anonymous wants me to do a 4K Blu-ray collection video. You know what's funny about that? I'm building another shelf because I'm moving all of my 4K discs onto
Nice.
that shelf. I think I'm up to like 500 now. 500
Wow.
4Ks.
I'm not too.
Nice.
Wait, I got 550. Do I actually have you beat?
You might. I mean, I don't honestly.
Holy
I don't.
shit.
I don't know. I don't know because I've been a lot more discerning with my 4K discs than because I figure there's a lot of discs I have on Blu-ray that I'm like I don't care about. I don't care about it enough to buy it on 4K. It has to be.
I feel
And
that. I feel that. Because
and
See,
I've been
now,
buying
me,
a-
that's more of an incentive to watch some of these movies. But yeah, sorry.
Well, I've been buying a lot of there's a lot of foreign 4K stuff like the Turbine German media books and those like
Oh, the guys at Turbines are awesome.
oh
Yeah.
man, that I've got their American Werewolf box set. It's incredible.
Incredible.
I mean, that's the thing. I've been buying all the cool, all the cool like Eureka box sets and a lot of the, because they put out like the police story movies and there's so
Yep.
much cool stuff coming out now.
Here's
Yeah,
a
I think I
good
picked those
question.
up too.
From Cryum. I hope I'm saying his name right. Is there a good aggregator site for physical, e.g., how to help people avoid like Terminator 2 and stuff?
Well, I look at Blu-ray.com, the
Yeah.
digital bits.
Yeah, that's what I go
but,
to.
But there's not really an aggregator that says whether you should buy it or not. That's actually a really good idea.
Oh yeah.
No,
Yeah.
but otherwise, yeah, following guys like us, we all kind of speak out on shit
Mhm.
that is.
The problem that I have is there's so much misinformation. Like when people talk about, say, a transfer of a movie like Ghostbusters, and there's not an understanding that like visual effects that were optically printed are a lot grainier than so there's grain in films and different scenes, and a lot of people don't understand why certain scenes suddenly are grainy and others are not. And that's just a function of the reality
I
of
can't help
photochemical.
those people, Robert. But
I know. I know. I know.
Tell people like Cry-Am, though. No, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to be facetious, but no, like I know exactly what you're talking
No,
about.
but I want to take these people and scream in their face, like, don't you? Because they clearly don't understand how movies were made. You know, everybody's like, well, why doesn't it look like a Pixar movie? And it's funny. You go back and you look at movies in the 70s and stuff. I love the Kino Lorber disc of the Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3, the 4K disc they put out. It's a grungy New York. Have you watched it yet?
The movie looks great.
The movie looks great,
like you just said. As far as you can tell that.
Oh, it's grunge.
The negative's in rough shape, but it's not like rough shape. But I mean, it's an older film.
But it looks, because the film stocks they used in the 70s had that. There's no bright colors, and I love grungy.
It's
70s
a cheaper
New York.
film stock. Yeah,
it's great. But that
I
disc
have one
looks
main
great.
complaint with this fucking movie. And I'll tell you right now, it shares the same problem as this. For some reason, all of a sudden, over at Kino, I don't know who's doing this, because these are two different companies gave them these scans. So it's got to be somebody at Kino doing this, because this original one didn't have a 5.1 mix, and I don't know about this one. But what they're doing is they're taking the mono mix and just sending it to the left and right channel and marking it as a 5.1 mix.
Oh, that's not good.
No, I don't know why they're doing that. It's on both of these releases so far that I've reviewed. It's like, if you're going to do that, just why? Just leave it in mono. Who cares? Like, why are you going to advertise a 5.1 mix when all you're doing is just sending the mono sound out to the left and right channel?
I also read Robert Harris talked about Death Wish being a 2K. It's like a 2K transfer.
It's not a very good looking transfer. No.
Yeah, and the thing is, Kino Lorber can only work with what they've been given. What I find so interesting is, like, Kino Lorber has been given a bunch of Paramount titles, which, by the way, they look great.
They're the worst of them, but yeah. Not necessarily, I would say, but yeah.
Why is Paramount giving away their catalog titles? Like, I don't
understand what's going on.
I mean, I guess they run the numbers and they think a movie like The Score or Indecent Proposal wasn't.
Well, Death Wish makes no sense to me, for one. But you're right. And funny you say that, Robert, because I was thinking that exact thing, because I plopped in my Paramount Blu-ray, which is only from 2014. And it looked, I'm like, this is the same fucking scan.
Oh, I'm sure it is. You know,
they didn't do anything, because I'm like, this does not look as good as it should compared to Death Wish 2 from Vinegar Syndrome, which had a lovely grain structure, might I add.
Well, the thing about, like, companies like Vinegar Syndrome, you know, a lot of them do their own transfers, and
that's what I love. Yeah,
and I don't understand. Like, they're like, I don't know if they did Roadhouse themselves. MGM, I think, did it, but
I think MGM did that one for them.
But it looks great.
It does,
and that I love Vinegar Syndrome, and
most
I love
of the
their
MGM
partner.
scans have been looking pretty good. It's the Paramount ones I've had the most trouble with. These guys will tell you. Lately, for some reason, it hadn't been before this, but just
Beverly Hills Cop looks good, though.
Beverly Hills Cop looks good. Beverly Hills Cop 2 looks good. Great. 48 Hours looks good. But all of a sudden, I noticed, and I think I brought this up to you in a private chat, Robert. All of a sudden, halfway through another 48 Hours, it looks like it flips from the negative to an old Blu-ray transfer.
It could very well have done
I'm like,
that.
what the fuck is going on? And it's for an hour of the rest of the movie. It's through the rest of the movie. And I've noticed on Wayne's World, all of these ones that Kino's getting outside of Nobody's Fool, which I was talking about when you first came in here, but Escape from Alcatraz really got hit hard with it. Paramount is doing some kind of softening to get rid of the grain, Robert, and what it's doing is making the picture smudgy, and not in that old DNR way, but like, for instance, in the opening of Escape from Alcatraz, when Clint's being brought into the prison, it's raining, it's pouring. You can't tell that it's raining. It looks like mist because it's been so smudged.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm like, what the fuck is Paramount doing over there?
Yeah, Paramount. I don't know.
If you really want to see what I'm talking about,
Trains and
Automobiles is really bad.
Well, but that I'm wondering about the actual. I'm wondering if that has to do with the negative.
The rumor with that is they didn't even go to the negative. The rumor with that is that's the old scan they had already, and they just upconverted it basically. And that's the same rumor going around for obviously now with Death Wish, and I'm not surprised.
Yeah,
because it looks just like that, like what you just said, and I'm like,
that's sense. It's very expensive to transfer negative. You're looking at $100,000, and the question is, if they're going to spend the money, they have to get it back. And we're looking at, I mean, something like Death Wish when it came out 30 years ago, it would have sold 1 million copies.
I actually think somebody recently told me, I can't tell you what company they came from yet, but I think they told me recently that cost has gotten down to about 40 grand, but I could be wrong.
It depends. It could be because the companies have to be competitive. The problem is it's still expensive because the negatives to do it properly. Not only do the negatives have to be cleaned, and they do like a one light transfer, and that's only if they're not going to repair things and go do color, or they're going to remove dust or whatever. But then you have to go pay a colorist to color time to grade the film. So you've done the scan, and then you have to have a colorist to come, and that, depending on how you're going to do it, that's costly as well. But it's still very expensive. And if you think about it, a lot of these boutique labels, I mean, like the Turbine, they'll make 800 copies of something, and I don't know how they can make any money on that, unless they're inheriting transfers and they're paying a small licensing fee or something.
Some of them, that's the case. It all depends. Like, I've talked to a couple people. Again, I can't necessarily say out loud who I did say in the private chat for you if you're curious who one of them is. But yeah, because we're working on something with them. Yeah, like that's kind of the case. Is sometimes it's a matter of they end up having to fork over the money to do it, but they like it when the studio pays for it. But then you run the risk of what we have with some of these discs. And even on the back of Death Wish, it says it's from the negative, which they probably did scan the negative back in 2014.
No, that's exactly you're absolutely right about that, because who's going to go back and spend that money? I mean, and that's what's really the problem now, is that, especially when you read about studios losing so much money from streaming, they just don't have the money because they can't get the returns that they need to get on how much money they're spending.
I don't know, like Vinegar's doing it too, but yeah.
Well, here's the thing about these boutique labels is they've got built-in fan bases.
Yes, that helps.
That'll buy like everything they put out. Like, for instance, I don't know where it went. I got the Noir 2 collection from Imprint, and that had like Blue Steel, Catherine Bigelow's Blue Steel with Jamie Lee Curtis, and it had Joe Carnahan's Narc.
And, that's right.
And
nice.
Films that Narc and Blue Steel were movies that I only had on DVD because they hadn't
Blue
come out.
Steel was one I wanted to get, and I didn't want to spend the whole thing for the whole box, though.
But that box set is great because it's got Internal Affairs, even though that's come out on Blu-ray before, and all of those discs have new special features on them.
Maybe I should.
Awesome.
Really good.
Because is Internal Affairs, is that the one that The Departed's based on?
No,
that
that's Infernal Affairs.
Infernal Affairs, that's what I thought, yeah.
Internal Affairs is the Andy Garcia, Richard Gere film where Richard Gere's the bent cop. And they go, and Andy Garcia's Internal. And
I remember that one.
It is great. It is so, I love that movie. And it's funny because Internal Affairs came out a long time ago. I don't know if it's the same transfer that it's a Paramount transfer from 10 years ago. I haven't looked at the disc yet, but it's great to have a Narc, especially, which is another Paramount title.
And I say that because MGM is really, I mean, I don't know if it's because Amazon bought them or what, or if they're allowing things a little differently now, but here's the thing: is they basically got busted up converting like 720 and 1080 DVD or 720 DVD scans up to 1080 Blu-rays, and basically the same thing with 4Ks. Was it Blue Underground I talked to, Craig, or who was it? Somebody I talked to, whoever did the Overboard disc.
It was Mike. What did he say? Who said?
But yeah, because he's like, because I noticed in
people, maybe that's
Synapse it was, I think. Yeah. Because I noticed on the advertisement of Overboard, it's like the first time they've ever scanned it in 2K. I'm like, what the fuck? I got the Blu-ray. So I messaged the guy and I'm like, what is that all about? And he's like, yeah, they never scanned them before properly.
Well, yeah, and the problem is they think that nobody's going to notice.
Yeah.
Oh, we notice.
Yeah, and that's why. I mean, it's like when Second Sight, like I'll buy anything Second Sight puts out. When they went back and did Robert Eggers' The Witch, because he hated the way it looked, then they went and retransferred it, and that disc looks incredible. If you like that movie.
But it's like for every good one we get anymore, there's been a few misses, and it's like Paramount seems to be one of the more bigger culprits.
I know, and you just have to be ever vigilant, you know,
Of course.
and that's the thing. I mean, because also 4K is the most unforgiving of formats.
It is.
Yeah.
So the studios that really like Columbia, Columbia, they kill
best.
it. Warner Brothers, MPI, what Warner Archive is doing is amazing. I mean,
that's what I was going to ask you. Does Warner have two different departments doing it? Because there's some discs that come out great, some that come out like shit.
Yeah, they do. As a matter of fact, the Warner Archive discs usually have higher bit rates than regular Warner Home Entertainment discs.
Well, it's even some of their 4K transfers lately. It's like a hit and miss on some of them. We were just discussing it before you got in here, actually. But
again, it depends on the original elements and where they're coming from, and
I know
and
that,
how much time they put in on them, which is.
But I think the bigger problem, besides not having people like you and other people like, and I get it, you know, the cost is not, you know,
they've gotten rid of the studios have gotten rid of almost all the institutional knowledge when it comes to this stuff.
And that's why we bitch about the covers and shit, because a lot of times they're put together by some guy in the marketing department now or whatever. And
that don't know. I mean, that's one of the things I love about Warner Archive discs is even though there are a lot of movies that probably people from our generation or other generations, younger generations aren't necessarily interested in because they've never heard of them, but they go back to the original key art.
Which is great, because that's usually what pulled us in, right? Like, that's the love of the video stores, sometimes just looking at all that art and, like, you know, seeing all that stuff together. It instantly brings back memories, and you know instantly. You don't even have to see the titles sometimes of some of those, and you know exactly what they are. Like Death Wish is a great example. You know, the one I showed here. You know, it's exactly instantly without seeing the title what it is. You know.
Yep. Like what was the fuck was up with that Poltergeist artwork?
Oh my God! We went on about that for how long?
I know
between that and Lost Boys. I'm like, we're just like, what the ever?
Yeah, what the hell was that all about?
Who thought that was a good idea?
I don't. Somebody did. Somebody looked at it and said, "Oh yeah, let's do that." And what's so funny is the Poltergeist artwork, the key art, is all black, colorless, black and white. You know, they're here with their hands on the TV.
Right.
How do you not put that with a shiny cover? You know, Poltergeist and like, how do you not
amazing
do that?
What's sad is I have the shitty artwork cover, and I only bought it because it was $10 on Black Friday. I shit you not.
Well, the thing about the transfer's good.
Book has it better.
Yeah,
the transfer's decent. Yeah,
and I got the Lost Boys Steelbook because that was at least better artwork than the one that they gave us.
Yeah, they got the key art on the back of the Steelbook, but it's not on the front. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah. Plus, they got the font right in the Steelbook, not the standard cover.
I know. Well, and the funny thing about it is that, you know, you have people, if you think about it, Poltergeist is 40 years old.
Yep.
And for me, being an old fuck, I saw these movies when they came out, and they became iconic. And nowadays, you know, you've got, let's say somebody who's 35 years old, 30 years old, whatever, there's a good chance they never saw Poltergeist. Because
it's a shame.
How many people it is a shame, and how many people go back and watch. That's why I'm so happy that like Gen Z and a lot of millennials don't watch exploitation cinema, because they'd be out there canceling everything from Blood-Sucking Freaks to Texas Chainsaw to I mean, there would be like, you know, they'd want to cancel all this stuff, and it's so that whole mindset is so strange to me. Like let's cancel these movies as if like the rest of human history never happened. It's so weird to me. Like, yeah, you know what happened in human history? You can watch it being just read about what happened in certain cities in Ukraine. You know, it's being played out right now.
Right.
And people are, I'm worried about my pronouns.
We have 100 years of history on film.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm part of that generation you just mentioned, and I fucking love that shit.
I'm glad. Well,
he's got pretty decent taste.
Well, the thing is, when you were younger, these movies were like, it was like punk rock. You know, it was like watching. My mother walked in on me watching I Spit on Your Grave, and it was not. Yeah, it wasn't good. You know, she
Told me anyway.
Yeah, it was not. And even porn. My dad walked in on me watching Devil Miss Jones with two friends.
At least
It was
that's classy porn.
the first time I ever saw
class.
pornographic, I couldn't believe it. I was 13 years old. I was like, "Oh my!" Now it seems so silly and quaint to see.
It's
say
very
that,
quaint now, but
but back then it was. I'd never seen. I didn't even know what that was. I'm like, "Oh my god!"
Well, that stuff back then you could watch on Valentine's
That
Day.
was
Now
one
it's
of the
like a regular movie.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's like one of the few movies that was kind of treated as like a more serious film, like
Oh yeah,
I
and
remember
that
that.
movie I couldn't believe. If you haven't seen Devil Miss Jones, even though it's a pornographic movie,
you should. It's decent. Yeah.
the way it ended, I was just like, "Oh my god!" Like I never.
It's fucked up.
It is fucked up. It's that hell. You're in a jail cell with somebody that you're a nymphomaniac, and they think spiders are crawling all over them, and that's how you're going to spend the rest of eternity. It's just like, oh my god, yeah,
Yeah, it's back when they actually used to make pornos with that like their actual movies, even
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's just like Deep Throat and Debbie Does Dallas kind of started it down that road of not taking shit so seriously. But there was a few in there that were pretty. You could actually kind of consider, true films in a way.
yeah, yep.
Classics. Speaking of films,
Yeah.
Runner, did you want to show some of your movies real quick? Just turn on the camera and pop
sure.
them up. So
Yeah,
what you got?
So this movie right here, I got the steelbook for like $10 or something like that, super cheap, and it's a 4K. It's from Paramount. When you think of garbage, think of this guy right here.
That's a great movie, though. The
Yeah,
first
that is
one.
an awesome
The
movie.
first one's great. The second one, not so much. But
Not
yeah.
good.
I didn't see it.
If I remember right, that
Not
transfer's
funny.
okay.
Yeah, it didn't look too bad.
It's nice. It's a good movie. I love that movie. It's a good one.
Yeah. It also comes with like a little poster. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let your soul glow, baby.
It's McDowell's, not McDonald's, man.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Indiana Jones.
It's actual
steelbook. They come
chocolate.
with a little poster in it. Pretty cool.
Love
cool.
coming to America.
You want to show another one real quick? Just pop it up real quick.
Show another one. Okay,
Yeah,
this one's a Scream Factory 4K. I found this.
You
at a
ain't
Best
never
Buy
met no
once.
Cassius Clay.
Joe Dante's Piranha.
Joe Dante's
Oh,
Piranha.
nice.
Piranha.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
See, he's got decent taste, so we're trying to help him along the way.
Yeah, I have gone through this weird phase because of these two up here.
You need to get Humanoids from the Deep.
I got that because of you.
I'll add that to my list.
It's
That's
great.
That is
James
good.
Horner score.
That is
Come on,
good.
you have mutant creature rape in the beginning of that movie that leads to a great ending.
Just think it's a better version of The Shape of Water. That's
Yeah, it's a precursor.
it's a precursor.
Shape of
Spoilers.
Water's a remake of Humanoids. From the
Yeah.
Deep.
The Shape of
Fine,
Water is
trust-
whatever it's in. That's all.
Oh, wow.
They just want female human women with great bodies, great sets. That's all they want.
Well, that's like The Hidden. You know the movie The Hidden?
Yes.
Yes.
The great thing about The Hidden is this evil alien wants to drive Ferraris, meet girls with big boobs, and be president of the United States and listen to heavy metal music. Like, who
That's
doesn't
my
want to
dream.
do that? That was the audience it was targeted to. Well, what a genius! And Jack Shoulder directed that, who directed Nightmare on Elm Street 2.
Yep, and Alone in the Dark.
And Alone in the Dark, and By Dawn's Early Light, which is a great nuclear.
I have an interview
thriller.
with him that I haven't released yet.
Oh, I'm a fan. I'm a fan.
You need to
He
get
was
that
fun
release
to
done.
talk to.
Yeah.
Here you go.
It's funny because he's just like, I didn't really give a shit about Freddy. Like, I didn't think the first one was all that
Scanner
great.
cop.
Scared
And you're like, you ask him, he's like,
okay.
so did you not notice the whole like gay homosexual undertone? He's like, I wasn't paying that much attention. Basically, he's like, I guess I didn't. You know, it's like it seems like it would be obvious, but no, we didn't know. It's like when I talked to Robert Shea, it's like, how did you not know? And he's like telling the story. He's like, I guess we just didn't know. And he's like, yeah, you know, we go down and I was in the movie. I played a bartender, and I'm down at the leather bar or the leather store with my daughter picking out my fucking outfit. I'm just sitting here going, you still haven't figured this movie out yet in my head, but he's just telling the story, just like, yeah, and she helped me pick out the outfit, and it was a lot of fun, It's like,
Well, it's when New Line was when they were making the Freddy movies, they made movies like The Hidden, and the first movie I ever worked on was Leatherface Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3.
right.
And they that was the movie they made right after Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child. So our art departments had a little bit of crossover. So I was on the set of Nightmare 5 when they were finishing it up, like shooting that motorcycle.
Nice.
They were the principal was done, but they were shooting effect shots, like that whole motorcycle sequence, and it was pretty cool because I watched them do that. But they were switching off. There was Mick Strawn and CJ Strawn, who were brother and sister, and they were each production designers. They just kind of trade off on those movies, and it was a really fun time to, like, I was 22 years old, and it was a really fun time to work. I was the art department assistant on Leatherface, so I was like the whipping boy, but it was so much fun. I mean, I would just do whatever they needed me to do, but it was cool being on those, because they really had it was like they really knew what they were doing. And
that was New Line really kind of ramping up too at that point.
And they would make not just the Nightmare movies, but they'd make The Hidden. And The Hidden came out, what was that? I think 88.
86 or 88, somewhere in there. Yeah.
Yeah, it was right. It was right. Yeah, it might have been 86.
For some reason, 86 sticks out in my head, but
I forget. But it was because the Terminator sort of.
See, we split the difference, 87. See,
there you go. Yeah, that makes sense because I saw it before I moved to LA, because I moved to LA in 88. But The Hidden, they were making these really great theatrically released, really imaginative genre movies that had really great action set pieces and good That's what's so great about the Nightmare on Elm Street films, is the fantasy sequences were so elaborate, and they had so many really interesting, at least up through 5. And then things they got a little weird, actually, that wasn't Rachel Talalay. It was Freddy's Dead was 6.
Yeah, it has.
Yeah. And then,
in hindsight, it's like you look back, you're like, the movie itself is okay, but then when you find out that we could have had Peter Jackson's Dream Lover instead.
Yep. I know.
I want to get my hands on that script so bad.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you know what? I could actually make. I think I know somebody who has that script.
That'd be awesome if you could get your hands on it.
I could see if I could find that because actually it's Dave Scow, who was, I think he was I want to say he was working with Peter, or Peter was sleeping on his couch, because he wrote Leatherface.
Right.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. That's when New Line thought they were going to turn it into a franchise.
Didn't you have him on your channel one night?
Yeah, no, I
was like freaking out. I remember. I'm like, oh my God,
Well, Dave Scow wrote The Hills Run Red. As a matter of fact,
I never put 2 and 2 together until I was like, oh, duh. Plus, I think he worked on Leatherface too, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I met Dave, and we have been friends since then. Like when I was doing the Chronicles of Narnia special features for Lions.
And that just shows you how much of a nerd I am, because he always pops up in those weird, like, horror behind the scenes documentaries and stuff like that.
Well, he's a really interesting cat, because like he wrote a book on the Outer Limits TV series, and then of course he was a splatterpunk author. He had a column in Fangoria magazine. He worked.
That's awesome.
Of course, he worked on The Crow too.
He wrote The Crow. He co-wrote the screenplay for The Crow with John Shirley. And where's that 4K?
Yeah,
that's
I would love
a good question.
4K.
You got to imagine Paramount's going to get on that sooner than later.
But it's going to be Paramount.
Well, because it's Miramax, and I got to tell you, if they do what they did with Pulp Fiction, bring it on.
I think the only reason Pulp Fiction looks as good as it did, and I'll be honest with you, Robert, is that Tarantino oversaw that. That's why. I guarantee you.
I don't know, because I've always heard that he doesn't pay much attention, but both with Reservoir Dogs.
The case. It may be,
because how did Inglourious Bastards turn out the way that turned out?
I thought it looked. I don't understand what people are saying about Inglourious Bastards. I watched it, compared it to the Blu-ray, and I think I know part of the problem is that it does look a little bit better, but I think the Blu-ray looks so freaking good that people aren't realizing.
Yeah, that could very well be.
Because I compared the two, and I'm like looking at the Blu-ray, I'm like, this looks better than most Blu-rays did at the time, and that's probably, I mean, granted, if they did a new scan of the negative, it might look better. I'm not going to deny that, because we all know Tarantino shoots in film. But no, I unless I'm wrong, I heard he oversaw Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs.
Well, that could very well be. They both look incredible.
And
By the
he
way,
Yeah, they
went
do.
to Rothman at Sony and said, if you're going to do these 4K Blu-rays, you got to do them right. I guess he's a 4K freak now all of a sudden.
yeah, because they duplicate, you can see the grain pattern.
That's what I guess he was like
Yeah.
all like
Yeah.
got excited about. I could be wrong, but this is the stories that I've read and heard, I guess. So yeah.
Davina in the chat says the hidden Blu-ray is quite good. That's because Warner Archive did it. Warner Archive put out the hidden Blu-ray.
Shout out to them. I've been wanting
Yeah.
to get the Attack of the 50-Foot Woman from them.
Oh,
I gotta pick
it's
that up.
great.
I was gonna say, is it good?
great.
Because I've heard good things about it, and I've
It's-
I
been
need to get that.
it's on
It
my
looks
list.
it looks incredible.
Nice.
It does. Sorry, I'm eating chocolate as I talk to you.
Okay.
See, yeah, QT liked the pan and scan version of Pulp Fiction because he oversaw it. Yeah, see, he likes nerdy shit like that, though.
Yeah. Yes. Where were we now?
Sorry. Yeah,
I
we
lost
went
my
on a
train of
tangent.
thought.
Oh, we showed 2 pics of mine.
You should
That's what I
have yours.
remember.
I should have mine. I watched Scanner
that
Cop
kind of
for
went
the
out the
first
window
time.
a little bit ago. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. You did show yours.
Yeah.
Class.
I
only
actually
got one left, but yeah.
I got these from Vinegar Syndrome. I got both of them in the nice big box set, and I just watched Scanner Cup for the first time because I didn't realize it was actually connected to the Scanners movies at first.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Then
Now
I
they're doing a
realized it's the
Scanners
last
TV
two.
series.
Oh,
Are
are
they?
they?
Yeah.
Nice.
There's a Scanners TV. I worked for I was a reader, a story analyst for Pierre David's company for a while, and the thing that he produced like Videodrome and Scanners and the early Cronenberg titles, and then he went on to make Scanner Cop, and I did
Yeah.
coverage on those scripts. I
Oh,
just wish
nice.
I always wanted him to redo Videodrome, but nobody ever has.
Well, speaking of, I meant to bring this up when you was talking about Leatherface. I just saw William Butler not too long ago.
Yeah,
Posted footage of him and Vigo from the set of Leatherface
Yeah.
from all them years ago, man.
He just produced a movie that Dave Parker, who directed Dave Parker just directed the last, I want to say it's the last Puppet Master movie called Dr. Death.
Yeah,
Yes.
you
I think it's
saw
called-
that, didn't you, Greg?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I did.
Dave directed that. They shot that very quickly.
I loved it.
Yeah, that's
Speaking
what we
of
heard.
which, I got this Friday. I will be dropping an interview with the guy that dies in the beginning of Puppet Dr. Death. He dies. He's the whole reason Dr. Death gets loose. So I did an interview with him. So I'll be that comes
Wow.
out Friday.
Did
Yeah.
he talk about the director at all?
Yeah, he just said the guy just told him to just go for it, just scream, because that's all he does in the beginning of the movie. He just lays there and screams at the top of his lung till he dies and have a heart attack. So, but yeah, he said, and then he said he walked upstairs, which he didn't say this on film. He said it after the interview, but he said he walked upstairs because they filmed it in the basement of Full Moon Manor up in Cleveland.
Yeah.
And William Butler came down and said, "Was that you doing all the screaming down there?" And he's like, "Yeah." And he said, "That was great." so yeah, it's pretty fun talking to him. Plus, he also, for anybody, because I'm making a new documentary, he was the dad in the Blockbuster commercial, the famous one where the family is standing in the middle and the Blockbuster builds around them. So I interviewed him for that, for my documentary I'm making on the video store. So that'd be a part of the documentary, but the Puppet Master stuff comes out this Friday.
Wow, that's very cool.
Yeah. But yeah, Runner, do you want to show anything else? You want to show a couple more, or Tom?
Yeah, I have 2 more to show.
Go ahead, show them.
One of these movies is a double feature. The other one is not. So this one I watched recently. I saw the first movie like a year ago. I know Greg hates the first movie, and that's fine. Sequel, Quiet Place Part 2.
Oh, I hate both the Quiet Place movies.
Really?
What?
Yeah, I don't like them. I didn't fall in line with them.
One?
Well, I've never seen the second one, but I know I wouldn't like it even because I didn't like the first one.
Wow. Okay.
I know you don't like the first one, but this is way better. This is
I
way
just-
But I've never watched them.
Yeah, I've never watched them.
I have them though.
I just,
I got them on a
it
Black
just,
Friday sale. Yeah.
it didn't catch my interest. That first one, I just didn't feel it. And I have nothing against people like it, because I'm glad that people like it because it's keeping horror movies alive. Because horror movies are like big business at the box office that people are not beholden to. Like, you got Barbarian, you have Smile, you have The Quiet Place, you have all these movies that are like doing big business in the box office, and it's like people still shun horror movies. So
Well, yeah, which is ridiculous.
yeah,
And these two movies are really what got me into the horror franchise in general, and probably arguably one of my favorite directors of all time, and that's Sam Raimi's Evil Dead and Evil Dead
Nice.
2. And
Yep.
Nice.
I know you were credited in Army of Darkness, I think, right?
Yeah, I was. I worked on I worked on Army of Darkness for the longest summer of my life. I was working for Tony Gardner's Altarian Studios, and I was again a makeup effects production assistant. And at the time, I was working on Sleepwalkers, the Mick Garris Stephen King adaptation. And so they were making that movie, and then they were shooting Army of Darkness, and we did all the Evil Ash stuff. It was KMB was
that's
doing all the
awesome.
monsters. We were doing the Evil Ash and the Deadite stuff. And so it was so much fun because I would come whenever I'd have to. Basically, my job was we were cooking up latex appliances for Sleepwalkers. Then I would have to take those to set, and that was, in and around Hollywood and stuff, and up in the hills. And then I would have to drive to Acton, which is up the 14, and go to where the castle set was. And whatever needed to be taken there, whatever appliances needed to be, I had to bring all that stuff. And then I would go back to the office. And when you got back to the office, I was painting Dick Durock's Swamp Thing masks that he was wearing for the Swamp Thing TV series.
For real? That's awesome.
Yeah. So that was my day. My day was going to the sets of Sleepwalker. And the thing about Army of Darkness that was really interesting, there was a company, it doesn't exist anymore, called Introvision. And Introvision was a special effects process where they did, instead of using blue screen, they would composite shots in camera. So you would have a live action, like Stand By Me has an Introvision shot where the kids are running across a train trestle and the train's behind them.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so they would shoot the live action plate, and then they would have the model, and they would comp them in camera. And it was, so a lot of Army of Darkness was shot at Introvision. It was run by a guy named Tom Nod. And the problem with Introvision was he had his own model department. So he was hard to work with because he didn't want to farm anything out. He wanted it all to happen there. And I remember when Bruce Campbell was doing, they're on the mountaintop and he finds the book and he says Klaatu Barada Nikto and all that. They were shooting that in Introvision for a really long time, and it just felt like it was like an endless summer, but there was no surfing, and it was just all I did. I drove 500 miles a day, and that's just driving around and going to sets. The only thing that was cool is that Machen and Mick starred in Sleepwalkers, and I would always get there when she was in the makeup trailer, and she was stunningly beautiful and so sweet, and I was madly in love with her. And she was like, "Hi, how are you this morning?"
Crush,
I'm like, "Oh, I'm
childhood
good,
crush, man.
man. I'm good now that I
From
see
Twin
you."
Peaks, Trapped in Paradise, Sleepwalkers, man. I had a crush on her.
Oh, if you can get the Laserdisc version of Dream Lover, directed by Nicholas Kazan, it's a thriller that stars her and James Spader. You have to see. Dream Lover just came out on Blu-ray, but it's the edited version. You have to get the unedited version because there's a whole lot of Machen and Mick in it.
Is that that's the one where she's standing there naked in the doorway? And
oh yeah,
right, yeah.
And the only way you can get the uncut version, I feel like such an old, lascivious, dirty old man, but hey, this was back in the day. This
very welcome here.
The only way you can get that is on Laserdisc, which, by the way, I have. One day I should transfer it.
I picked up a lot of Laserdisc, and I've been meaning to. That's right, because I've always Tom says it, and Valiant Renegade says it, and you say Laserdisc was this. I'm like, I really need to start picking up some more Laserdisc.
There's some things that have just not been released on DVD or Blu-ray, and then there's special features in some cases that were never carried over. Sometimes you'll have different versions that were never carried over. I mean, cripes. How many movies now do we get where it's only the theatrical cut now on the 4K version?
Well, because they only finished that director's cut was done, unfortunately, at NTSC Video.
That'll
for instance,
be the case,
I've got the special edition of the Pioneer release of Basic Instinct, and it has an hour-long documentary on it that's never seen the light of day.
That's sad.
Which leads me to believe if I were to convert it and upload it, nobody would care.
Maybe not.
So
Or maybe if it has any scenes from the movie in it, you just cut them out and then you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's usually what they nail you for, is just like the scenes from the movie or the music or whatever.
Well, it's
But, yeah.
it's frustrating to thank God things like the Lord of the Rings they kept the extended cuts and I was really happy to see that Paramount released the director's cut of Star Trek 2 and Star Trek 6 in 4K. That they went back and did that.
Yeah,
Because,
well, and we were having this discussion not too long ago. You and I, Robert, we have an answer now as far as the whole Superman 2 Richard Donner cut and what's coming from there. But
yep.
yeah, so they're going back and rescanning it and everything. So
Yeah,
Yep.
they'll do a good job. Unfortunately,
sadly, they're not doing it for the first film, though. I don't know why.
Yeah, I know. Well, because I think they did it already.
They think they did it. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Those old Blu-rays of Superman look like, well, let's be real, they don't look very good.
They don't look very good. But that's also a movie that is really sketchy in terms of the different film stocks and the way they shot it.
That's the other thing I heard that was funky. I don't know if it's true or not, what exactly the extent they went, but I did hear they did go back and do some treatment on the first film for this release.
Oh, that might be.
Supposedly.
Yeah, but I mean, because all the Jeffrey Unsworth photography is that kind of has that gauzy.
Glow.
I love it, but
yeah, it has that glow to it.
yeah,
And but yeah, I can't wait to see that box set when it comes out. Just sad we're
Me
not getting
too.
the extended cut of the first film, but yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, it's
I'm
too.
excited.
It's a bummer.
Yeah.
I was
think
happy.
you know-
My favorite thing I got recently was the Wise Guy TV series. I was a huge fan of that, and 8 of those episodes had never been released because of music rights issues.
Oh yeah, who put that out?
You know what? Some wackadoo company. I don't even know.
I think they're the same ones that just put out 21 Jump Street and something else.
Yeah. Oh, here it is. I got it right here. It's I don't even. Now this is
Mill
a total.
Creek?
It's not even. It's not even Mill Creek. It doesn't even have the name of the company on the box.
It's not even Mill Creek. I like
And,
that.
and I'll show you
Some
something.
cool- it's not
I
even Mill
saw
Creek, man.
somebody said here, this is how sketchy this company is. You're gonna love this. So, not bad, It's okay.
Not bad.
It's all right. The artwork's great. These
That
are
is Mill
Oh,
Creek
no.
style.
Yeah,
that is
that's-
Mill Creek
That's
style.
Mill Creek. No.
I mean, you look at this, it's like, really?
That's
what
awful.
you get?
That is awful. According to Paparazzo, VEI put out Wise Guy.
Is that what they did? I'm looking for their logo, and it's look. I just wanted. It's got all 75 episodes, but it doesn't have the TV movie, which bums me out. But it was funny because I was reading some Amazon reviews, and there were people on Amazon who are like, "Did this even come out?" I'm like, I have it.
It's real, I swear.
Yeah,
see,
somebody's
yeah.
style section says the other songs, like the Knights in White Satin. So, the first season of Wise Guy, this is why Miami Vice took so long to come out on home video. So when they started releasing, yeah, they never had, like, for instance, when John Carpenter's The Thing first came out on home video back on VHS in I want to say at the end of holiday time 1982. Stevie Wonder's song Superstition that Knowles is playing in the kitchen had some generic sound-alike when it first came out. And the Fast Times at Ridgemont High, which was also, 82, they had, Universal did not get the music rights to release their movies on home video. So a lot of the time certain songs had to be, and I want to say it wasn't until maybe the Laserdisc, the special edition Laserdisc in the 90s, that they restored Superstition back to the Thing. And
It's
and
on
that
it
happened-
now. I know that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, it's been on it for quite some
a
time
while
now, but
now,
they had to
yeah.
but for a while it wasn't. And it was really weird, and there were things like, one of my favorite science fiction movies of all time is a movie that was made for PBS in 1979 called The Lathe of Heaven, not the one with James Caan, but the original. And they used the Beatles song With a Little Help from My Friends. And the DVD of it, it's only ever been released on DVD because somebody lost the goddamn negative. They used a sound-alike of the Beatles, and it's so weird because I watched that videotape 100 times because I taped it off TV, and to hear the sound like it's sucks. But in Wise Guy, in the last episode of the first arc, when Vinny Terranova confronts Ray Sharkey's villain, they played Knights in White Satin, the Moody Blues Knights in White Satin, and they didn't get the rights, and when it came out on home video, they couldn't. I don't even think it's on the syndicated versions of the episodes either,
Ooh.
which is it's so weird that they do that. I mean, I understand it's rights issues and money, but it really blows.
Yeah, because that's what upset me. The TV show Werewolf from Fox in the 80s, Shout Factory was actually doing that set, and there's two bands wouldn't play ball with them, so they never got to release it ever. They had to stop work on it, and some French company released it not too long ago. It's out of print now, but yeah, we can't get it here in the U.S. because of these bands won't play ball for their music in one scene.
Speaking of 21 Jump Street, even though it's been released by that company you're talking about, Robert, I don't think they fixed the audio yet in that's another show that hasn't had the music restored last I knew.
No,
I think I had that 21 Jump Street set, and I think they crop it in that too.
Well, what sucks is music, when music is played in tandem with images and it becomes indelible. Like the whole end of the first season of Wise Guy is one of my favorite cop shows ever, and there's basically two big long arcs. There's the Sonny Steelgrave arc with Ray Sharkey, and it's basically Donnie Brasco, and then there was Kevin Spacey, the first time I'd ever seen Kevin Spacey, when he plays a guy named Mel Prophet, and Joan Severance is his incestuous sister, Susan Prophet. And both of those arcs are incredible. They're incredible TV arcs. And to not have Knights in White Satin in that. But the funny thing is now is people will tell you, like, wait, what? What are you talking about? No one remembers. No one remembers Wise Guys. So
right. Well, I remember the show, and then the other reason I remember it more so just because, it was a big deal when it was on, was also that's the reason they had to change the name of to Goodfellas in the movie, because the book was called Wise Guy.
Yep,
and
that's exactly right.
Show.
Yep.
Yeah.
Vinny, we're going to live forever. It's so good. If you guys have, and you can find it on TV. It's like streaming.
I was actually watching it the other day. It was on a TV. I can't remember what channel I turned it on, but I was watching it. He was at a ski lodge somewhere doing an episode. I can't remember the episode, but yeah, I was watching it. It's not bad.
Style section knows what's up. Hello.
Yeah.
Hello, Buckwheat. Buckwheat. Hello, Buckwheat was actually a title of one of the episodes when William Russ as Roger Lococo is one of the great. And by the way, Ken Wall's on Twitter. I tweeted back to Ken Wall the other day because Jonathan Banks, who starred in Wise Guy. Jonathan Banks he and Ken Wall were. Jonathan Banks plays Mike on Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, but that's Jonathan Banks, and he plays one of the main characters on Wise Guy. He turned 75 years old the other day, and Ken Wall tweeted at him, and I tweeted back at him, because
nice.
I'm telling you, he didn't answer me, but what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
So I guess off topic to lead into my last pick. What do you know of John Gillerman?
John Gillerman, who directed King Kong. He directed the 1976 King Kong.
He did.
Mm-hmm.
When my Kong is gonna die, everybody cry. That's actually what Dino De Laurentiis said.
Well, I have the DVD, but I just got this.
Is that
from?
Is that
Umbrella.
King Kong Lives?
It is.
Oh.
And it came with a poster and some Chinese lobby cards.
Oh shit, man! I gotta get that.
Yeah.
Look at
Yeah. The transfer's meh, but
yeah.
it has the same 5.1 soundtracks issue as the old DVD. I don't know what they did to it, but the sound's all messed up. There's a weird hum in the subwoofer, and it just sounds weird. There you go. There's the OG.
Yeah.
OG level.
I knew he was bringing that up. I was like, I grabbed my VHS real quick.
King Kong, pretty decent remake. King Kong Lives, a whole lot of batshit craziness. But
Joey in the chat drops Otherworld before Jonathan Banks played Frank McPike. There's this show, and I think it's on YouTube. You got to watch it. There, I don't know why, but in the late 70s and early 80s, there There was like the Fantastic Journey and Otherworld about these families transitioning into the multiverse. And Otherworld, they would go to like different realms, or as they walk through this place, it would just like a Fantastic Journey. They're on an island. They go to different zones. I don't remember if Otherworld they were transitioning dimensions or just going to different. But Jonathan Banks, before he was in Beverly Hills Cop, he was in Otherworld.
Wow.
Nobody even remembers that. Kudos to you,
I
sir.
do not remember. Yeah.
Neither do I.
Otherworld. You got to watch these things, man. People don't even remember because they only ran like 10 episodes. Otherworld's hilarious.
Yeah, it's funny how shows like that just kind of get lost to the
Totally.
Yeah.
to the forever nevers. But no, I watched King Kong Lives today for the first time in a few years. It's just as batshit crazy as it ever was, but I still love it for that reason. I don't know who all's seen the movie,
I have.
but for those who
I'm
are
probably
curious,
the only one who hasn't.
it picks right up. Have you seen the 76 Kong Runner?
The one with Jeff Bridges.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have the Shout Factory Blu-ray.
Okay, well, this picks
Good
up
movie.
right where that one leaves off because it actually picks up with the ending of the first one. But we don't get to see Jessica Lange or Jeff Bridges again. They're in the flashback scene. That's it. Well, it kind of jumps ahead a little bit, and you got what's her face from Terminator, Linda Hamilton,
Sarah Connor.
and and speaking of Beverly Hills Cop, John Ashton's in this as well.
Yeah.
But yeah.
By the way, they shipped my Axel Foley figure.
Finally, yeah, we've been waiting
Nice.
on that.
Yeah, they shipped it. I just got a shipping notice.
Yeah, Mike and I have been wondering what the hell's been going on with that because he ordered it like 2 friggin' years ago.
By the way, deleted scene says was Otherworld on CBS. I think it was, but don't quote me. I think it was.
But yeah, so the movie picks up, and Linda Hamilton is a doctor for Kong, and they've got him on life support. And they built him a heart, but he's been in a coma so long he needs a blood transfusion. And it just so happens that they find a Lady Kong, just in the nick of time. And then they transport this Lady Kong, and they get him the successful transfusion. But all hell breaks loose because Kong breaks out because he's a horny ape. He wants to get some Lady Kong action, and all hell breaks loose for about 2 fucking hours.
Sexual healing.
And he has one of the weirdest looking babies in King Kong history just before he dies. End of story.
Now I really
love
wanna
this
see
movie.
It is fucking batshit crazy.
It's crazy.
I really want to see this movie.
What's weird is the Carl Rambaldi effects are probably better than the original film, which is weird. They spent like half the money they did on the first movie for this one, Robert. Have you even seen it? I'm sure you have.
Oh yeah, I saw it when it first came out.
Yeah.
But yeah, it wasn't good.
Yeah, like Gellerman. How do I Gellerman?
John
Gellerman.
Gillerman.
Gillerman. Now I remember he didn't want to work with Dino De Laurentiis necessarily again, but they had a bonding moment because both of their sons had passed in 2 horrible accidents. So, and he was talking to him because he had been attached to a remake of was it Taipan? Is that what I'm thinking of? Trying to remember. He was working on he wanted to work on this movie, but somebody else had already was working on it for Dino. He's like, instead, I got for you King of Kong 2. And John's like, whatever. He has a lot of those movies in his career. It's just like he does a great movie, and then just whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
It's all good.
I love a good bad movie, and that's a good bad movie.
It's a good bad movie.
Yeah, it's a good bad movie. It's got some good stuff. That freaking giant heart they built, that like white plastic, if I remember correctly, it just is amazing for King Kong's heart transplant.
Well, it's funny because they were trying to figure this movie out for years because Dino wanted to make a sequel right away. Even though the first movie was a hit, but it wasn't as well received, at the time. And they couldn't figure out how to bring King Kong back, and it was just happened to be that they had the first artificial heart had come into the news. So he's like, "That's it. That's how I bring back King Kong." So yeah, that's what kicked the whole thing off. But it was something they were trying to do for a long time. It just never. It's a hell of a movie though.
It's crazy. Now I'm gonna have to watch it. I'm waiting for the Shout Factory one because I
I
didn't
really need to watch
import it, but it's a good one.
Yeah, Shout's bringing it out. I found out right after I got
Yeah.
this. Yeah.
I bought the original King Kong on Blu-ray. There used to be a site that I would go to like 10 years ago that would have European and region B and C discs. And I forget what it was. And I bought that first King Kong. The first time I bought it, that I had it off. It was a European disc. And then
It's funny because I brought all my King Kongs on here when I brought the 4K on here. I have pretty much every release, and so I probably have the one that you have, Robert.
Yeah, it just
like,
says King Kong in black and red.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just that.
I have the Umbrella one too, and there was another one I have. Can't remember who put that one out, but Studio Canal did the scan, of course, but I can't remember what company put it out.
Nice.
That 4K scan of Kong has issues too. I don't know if you have that.
Yeah, it does. Well, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, I know. I'm sad that it's not the extended cut. Did you know they went and added DNR to the extended cut on the bonus disc? So it looks better on Scream's version of.
I just don't get. I mean, DNR. For those of you who don't know, it's you're smearing the picture. You're smearing it, and it's you're like putting Vaseline. I just don't get it.
Whoever came up with DNR is just like, why would you come up with that?
I don't know.
It ruined so many great scans. Well, I don't want to say ruined because they're still watchable. It's just they're very, very annoying to see some of your favorite stuff be blurred like that. It sucks.
Well, I noticed it because when I brought it on here, I just said this at the time, but I like the Shout Factory disc. The scan that's on the main disc is the same scan that we've been getting, that you and I have, Robert, and we've been getting from Studio Canal for a few years outside the U.S. But Shout did a 2K scan of the TV version, so that technically looks better to me than the theatrical cut. And I noticed, because I flipped over just to see, because I'm watching the 4K version. I'm like, God, this doesn't look much better than I remember the TV version looking on the Shout disc. So I flipped over to the other disc to check out because it was happened to be there, so because it was convenient. I'm like, I don't remember this looking so bad. So I went over and grabbed my Shout disc, and sure as shit, didn't even take me 2 seconds to go, oh yeah, they added some kind of DNR. And you can really tell in the scene where they're coming up to the beach on the boat, because you can really see it hanging in the smoke, all the digitization and stuff. It's like, what the hell did they do? Mm-hmm. There's no grain at all. It's really bad.
It's horrible.
That's terrible, and I don't like it.
Me neither. That's what his complaints. But yeah, so I don't know what else we got for movies here. What do you got left?
Yeah. I'm done. I showed my last one. Yeah, I'm done.
I'm done too. You got anything left, Robert? Or
you want to show something, Robert?
Me? No, that's all I got. Although I will say this, if I can, I am giving away on my own channel.
Go ahead.
I'm giving away this 4K box of the Sony Pictures Classics 4K set that celebrates their 30 years on my own channel on Robservations on Let's Get Physical Media. Cool. And we're going to give this away for our 100th episode, but it's got things like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and Run Lola Run in 4K. Synecdoche, New York. It's got SLC Punk. So we're giving it away. I almost said
Matthew McConaughey, but I meant Matthew Lillard.
Oh, and Matthew Lillard's in there. And it's like a $299 set, but you have to work for it. You have to write, go to just Chat GPT and, just write, why is physical media important to you? And we're going to pick whoever has written the best essay. You can, you might win. You might win.
I might have to try that. Am I ineligible because I know you?
You're not ineligible. No one's ineligible. No one's ineligible. But
what's funny, Robert?
But now here's the kicker. We're going to pick out the top 3 letters, and viewers are going to decide the winner.
Oh, gotcha. Well, that makes sense there then. See, there you go. What's funny is I've been trying to get Paulie to do this for a while. He was supposed to get in touch with you. I don't think he brought it up, though. I have I believe it's a Spanish release of the TNG box set that I've been trying to get him to give away on Midnight's Edge Espanol for a while.
Wow.
So it's your box set. It's the one you worked on, but it's just the Spanish release of it or whatever. It's
Wow,
region
that's
free, I
that's
think.
cool.
But,
Yeah, it is region free, but that's still cool. Is the artwork different?
So I was like, not much. It's similar-ish. It looks a lot like the UK box set, but I think it's like it doesn't have the full box closed off. It's like half as it's just like a regular box. I'll have to show it to you.
Joey in the chat says, any more Trek rumors? What do you want to know?
Everything.
Well, having seen Star Trek Picard season 3 times all the way through now.
3 times.
3 times. I loved it. Loved it. And what's amazing is everything about it. People, it's so funny. Man, I'll tell you something. My credibility is going to go up in flames if people don't like Star Trek Picard season 3. But no, it's really good. It feels like Star Trek. Just the way people talk. It's all character. The Next Generation cast has never been better. And it's funny because the trailers do not. I mean, the trailers have action. They don't reflect the series, the 10 episodes, really at all. So when people watch it's almost interesting. I'm happy the trailers are what they are because the watching the show is very different than those trailers make it out to be. So that's good.
I will give it a watch. Based on your recommendation, I will give it a watch. I have not been a fan of New Trek.
Dude, I hate New Trek.
I know.
And I hate nothing.
So that's why I'm,
nothing I hate more than Picard seasons 1 and 2. And style section, Worf is still a member of the House of Martok. And by the way, Michael Dorn kicks ass in Picard season 3. Wait till you see how he's introduced.
I would like I said, I'll give.
I'll just say he's introduced swinging, and I'll just leave it at that. Swinging a sword, his new Klingon weapon.
Nice. Much like you and most everybody that's watched any new Trek, it's horrible.
It's beyond horrible.
It's unwatchable. It truly is unwatchable. So I will give Picard season 3. I'm not even going to watch season 1 and 2. I don't give a crap. I'm not going to. But I will watch season 3 to see it because I'll take your recommendation for it.
Here's the thing about Picard season 3 that I find now. Look, they had to deal with certain continuity issues that were established in Picard seasons 1 and 2. Like, for instance, the fact that Riker lost a son. Mm-hmm. You find out that Deanna and Riker had a son that died. Right. They deal with that in Picard season 3. That becomes, it's not a plot point. They just deal. It's a really poignant conversation that Picard and Riker have. There's a flashback to right when he's becoming a father to his son. And Riker tells a story that tells a story in this flashback. The show flashes in and out, goes back and forth through history as well. A little bit of the character's history. It's surprising.
Like all good things.
Not like that. It's not a time travel story. I mean, okay. like I said, it flashes back to the day Riker's talking about the day that his son was born, and the title of one of the episodes is 17 Seconds. And the reason it's titled that is because Riker tells a story about the 17 seconds it took him. Well, you'll see. You'll see. But it's surprisingly emotional and poignant. And the thing about what I hated about Picard seasons 1 and 2 is you're not watching Jean-Luc Picard. The character was not written as Picard. And now you see a character that feels like Jean-Luc Picard. All the Next Generation cast is really, really well written, and they all get parts to play that they have more to do than they've probably ever had to do before.
Yeah,
which is really interesting.
Which is interesting you bring up Worf because he did say he loved the Next Generation, but he enjoyed his time on Deep Space Nine because he got to do more on Deep Space Nine than he got to do on Next Generation. So that's interesting.
Peter Venkman says, I should say, Worf has a new Klingon weapon, a bladed weapon that's more like a broadsword than a bat'leth is. Because what's interesting is a bat'leth is more of a ceremonial weapon, and this I mean, if you can call a giant broadsword that you wear on your back like Captain America's shield, if you could call that a practical weapon. But yeah, and I'll tell you something. One of my favorite things I've seen in a long time is Worf's uniform. He's wearing a different kind of Klingon uniform. I guess I would call it civilian, maybe, if you want to call it that. But yeah, it's good stuff. I really liked it a lot, and everything feels different. Everything is different. When you watch the episodes, it just completely feels different. Except you'll watch the first 5 minutes and go, "What was Burnett talking about? This looks exactly the same." Just you wait. Well, there's an opening. There's a cold open where something happens with another character that's not Picard. Then you go to Chateau Picard for about 10 minutes, and then you're out. So, people, you do not need to see seasons 1 and 2. There's things that they refer to, but you'll get it. It's you won't. You'll be fine if you like Next Generation, because it feels like if somebody made a Next Generation movie. Because to be honest, I didn't like any of the Next Generation movies, even First Contact. So that's where I'm coming from.
Oh, really?
This feels like, and I've said, it kind of feels like Top Gun Maverick. And why do I say that?
That's high praise.
It's a Paramount project, and imagine instead of that, all the characters are Maverick, so they're all coming back 30 years later, and they're all scattered to the four winds. And I'll tell you something. I don't know if this is a spoiler or whatever, because you'll find this out. Picard has not spoken to Beverly Crusher in 20 years.
The longest courtship ever.
Well, no, they tried it and it didn't work.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And it didn't work out, and she's gone off and she's like a doctor without borders, and it opens.
Well, I mean,
with
it
her.
never happened on the show, but that's where they were hinting it was going to. Right.
I'm telling you. Here's some milestones that I can guarantee you. In Star Trek, in episode 5, there's one of my favorite conversations between two characters in all of Next Generation history. In episode 5, in episode 9, you will cry in the first 10 minutes. Every Next Generation fan will cry. You can't not cry. I've seen the episode 3 times and I've teared up every single time, even though I know it was coming. You will cry. And but not tears of sorrow. That's all I'm gonna say. And let's see. And
he's selling me on this show, and I would really hate to see it and be like, "What the fuck was Robert talking about?"
And the end of episode 4 will instill you with a sense of wonder. Right. I know. I'm giving it the hard sell. I'm just saying.
You're hitting all the right notes to sell it to me, because even though the original series is that's my Star Trek, Kirk and Spock, and that's my Star Trek. But I love the Next Generation.
Well, the original series is my jam.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that you're going to feel things when you watch Star Trek Picard season 3. You'll be like, oh, I remember Star Trek. I used to love Star Trek. This is Star Trek again. Wow.
All right.
I mean, it's and that's all I can say. I mean, people think I'm out of my mind. That I'm crazy.
That's what I'm saying, man. Because and we lost him.
Oh, what the hell?
he's just like dropped the bomb on Star Trek and he's out.
Oh, damn it! Paramount took him down. Fucking
all right.
Alex Kurtzman or whoever is still in charge fucking nuked him.
I didn't even touch anything. I just put my hand down and I disappeared.
He's like, he just dropped the mic and was out on Star Trek.
You know what? It was Paramount. It was CBS tracking me down.
I literally just said that. Said that.
Dude, I get in trouble. I say certain tweets. Everyone thinks I'm a paid shill. I'm like, and I've said, I'm like, pay me. I'll shill for you. You want to pay me, and I'll do that. But no one does that. There's no shill department. People are like, people used to pay. Nobody pays anybody for good reviews. I mean, there are people that pay you, but they'll tell you they pay you. It's not a secret. And Star Trek doesn't have the fan base anymore where they're going to pay people to. Terry Metalis and everybody he collaborated with has done a great job. And the acting, Jonathan Frakes as William T. Riker, he's never been better. They're great. All the cast is great. Mm-hmm. And you know what's really funny? When you watch Picard season 3, ask yourself, which bridge crew do I like better? The bridge crew of the Titan A or the bridge crew of the Discovery that I've been watching for the last 4 years, or not watching, as the case may be. It's a really interesting dichotomy of how the secondary bridge crew and who they cast and how you like them and how they're used. So it's really interesting.
Okay. Is there any holdover characters from the other seasons of Picard that's left over in this season?
Only Rafi.
Oh,
And Rafi is not a character that I necessarily liked, but she's extremely well used in this context. And at first when you first see her in the show, you're gonna be like, what was Burnett talking about? She's just a junkie. She's gone back to her old ways. Just keep watching. Just keep watching.
I'll give it a shot.
All I can say is, and by the way, there is the deepest cut to a Star Trek novel that will ever show up in any Star Trek. I couldn't believe it. I was like, wait, what? And even people that nobody knew what I was talking about. I'm like, and I'll say what the deep cut is. It's a deep cut to the Star Trek novel that William Shatner wrote, The Return. It's his second.
I have that novel.
Then you might notice this because, man, it was the deepest Star Trek cut ever. Especially if you're, a novel. I was like, wait, no way. It was so, I couldn't believe it. So, but
it's interesting because that novel lays a lot of groundwork for a lot of things that.
Oh, it's not. Yeah, there's nothing else in the show that's remotely.
I wouldn't expect some of that what he wrote.
No. It's just it pays. It's
like a homage.
Yeah, an homage to not just that novel, but a character in that novel. It's really well done. So,
all right. Well, with all that being said, I thank you.
Tom, are you not saying anything because you watched the first 6 episodes?
No, I haven't seen. I haven't seen the new show yet. Why is it out already?
Well, they've sent it to some reviewers.
No,
they've sent
they
it to
give
some
us shit.
Media.
They hate us.
Yeah, they don't.
They hate me too.
Yeah, well, you had a different means of getting around that.
Yeah,
like it just happened to fall in your lap. That's a different story. I mean, if it were to happen that way, maybe I'd watch it, but I haven't seen the second season, so.
Yeah, you don't have to. You don't have to have seen any of it.
And honestly, you know what? I've tried to, I wouldn't say defend you, but I've tried to run the fence for you going, I know you're not a shill. So anybody saying that kind of shit is bullshit. And
what's so funny is you can see how much my vitriolic hatred of modern Star Trek is well documented on my own channel.
Right, exactly. Like there's that too. I mean, I brought up that point, and again, there's the other side of this too. Is there's certain people who are just not going to be convinced by this show, whether or not they somehow erase the first 2 seasons or make Picard a human again. They're just not going to. It doesn't matter. Right. They're just not going to accept it. And I understand that too. So like there's a certain side of this, but I also feel like there's a certain camp of people who are just going to resist it no matter what. So it doesn't matter what you say.
Right.
That they're just never going to watch it. So.
Well, I would say this. I think if they do watch it, for me, the situation was I went in there thinking this was just going to be more garbage. And what was interesting is how I was won over. How I was like, huh. And I think any open-minded Star Trek fan will feel the same way.
Mm-hmm.
It's the proof is in the pudding.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right, but thank you, Robert, once again for coming on here.
Thanks for the invite. I'm glad I saw it. Normally sometimes I never see your invites, and I miss that out. And I think I'm going to go do a show on my own channel. I don't know what about, but I think I'm going to do one at 10 o'clock.
All right,
sounds good.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, thank you, Tom. Thank you, Runner. Runner, how'd it feel to be on the stream finally with Robert?
No, it's funny because like this is the 3rd time I think you've been on this show, Robert.
Yeah.
So the first 2 times you were in the show, I just happened to not be available to show up because I was like the first time I think I had to do a shit.
Yeah, why do you think we asked him?
Yeah, I know. So then we had this whole joke because I'm a regular in this
right
in this show, and then the second time I find out I'm not available because I think I had to like work super late one time, and then I find out, oh, Robert's in the show again, and I'm like, oh shit. like you had like he had to jump on when I'm not available the second time.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's
No, it's just funny. It's becoming a running joke. We've been
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
giving him crap about it forever since.
So then there's a few other times where like I tell them like, hey, like I'm not gonna be available this day, and then they'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, we're gonna have Robert on now.
Oh,
Yeah, we pick on him and sleep
yeah,
on
we
it.
pick on him.
well.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
thank
No,
you
he
guys.
got it.
I'm
He
the
finally got
front.
to be on the stream with you, though. So there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I'm the punching bag. out of the three.
He's young. He bounces.
Well, that's good. All good.
Yeah,
Oh,
but
yeah.
thank you guys once again
Thanks,
for
Robert,
hanging
for
out.
chopping in. Though.
Yeah.
It's been a. I didn't know all that stuff about. I know some of your stories, of course, but it was really interesting hearing some of the stuff about Army of Darkness and stuff like that.
Oh
Thank
yeah.
you.
I mean, no, it's funny because I don't think about that stuff. You just I've been here doing stuff for I've been working in the industry for 33 years now. And it's I've done so many different things. You just keep doing stuff and you don't, because in the entertainment business, like my dad was a vice president of an insurance company for like 35 years. He had one job. And when you work in the entertainment business, you just jump around. Like I could tell stories. I was producing DVD special features. Well, pretty much the last one I did was in 2020 when I did the special features for The Hills Run Red, which is a movie I produced. But director Dave Parker and I did that for Scream Factory. And by the way, buy that disc. If you guys don't have that Blu-ray, the Scream Factory Blu-ray for The Hills Run Red, we made a ridiculous. The movie's 83 minutes, and it's got 8 hours of special features on it. so there you go.
Yeah, that's cool though. I'll buy it.
Yeah, I mean, it look, if you hate the movie, the special features are fun.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, you got 8 hours of it, so
Robert was sending me the stuff before the movie, the video
Yeah.
Blu-ray even came out. And he's like, "Here, check this out." And he sends me a thing, and it's this on the set video with William Sadler and shit. And I'm like, "Holy shit, that's awesome!"
Yeah, it was pretty. And what was funny was I shot all that stuff, and the studio, when the movie came out, they didn't want me to use it. So I had 30 hours of these interviews and things that really had never been used. I mean, I did a half-hour featurette that's on the original DVD, but I had these tapes for 12 years just sitting there. And then when the pandemic, I was carrying them around, and I figured, well, they were on HDV tape, and I hadn't looked at them in 12 years. I didn't even know if they were any usable, and they were beautiful. They were absolutely. They were, and I rented a deck, and during the pandemic. Right when the pandemic hit, this was in May, we had to deliver. I think we got the gig right. We were a week into the pandemic, and they said you could still go out and everything. And I went and rented a deck, and we just said, okay, we'll do special features. And they only gave us 2 months to do all the special features. So for 2 months, I was just cutting footage, and it was fun. I'm like, pandemic, schmandemic. This is great. Little did I know that would last 2 more years. I'd be stuck in my garage. But yeah. So anyway,
cool.
but it was great, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, glad you're welcome back anytime. And yeah, thank you guys to the chat, everybody that hung with us, and everybody that was watching. Appreciate you guys. Thank you guys for hanging with us. And as always, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.
How you doing? Bitches leave.